My dad made me choose one of the 10 goddesses to marry. This video is purely for entertainment and does not violate copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and the image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Chapter 176 Fire Lotus. Fen Lin is no stranger to natural treasures. When he was a child, his father gave Fen Lin things to earn a living. Eat it stir-fried. When you eat noodles, boil it in the pot and add it to the porridge. Anyway, Fen Lin spent his childhood eating grass and the bathroom was always green. Later, with the second master, it gradually became more and more fleshy. Fen Chen told Fen Lin that there are high and low levels of natural and earthly treasures. What they eat regularly can grow in 1 to 5 years, and is the highest of all natural and earthly treasures. Those over 10 years old are the highest quality and are redefined. How many decades can a person's life last? The corners of Fen Lin's mouth raised slightly. He wanted this treasure. Sui, do you know where that address is? Fen Lin walked over and sat next to Sui and asked. Of course I know, but these people from the Yin and Yang sect also found out. Sui gritted his teeth angrily. The people are guarding that area, and I can't get close at all. Fen Lin turned around and looked at the people over their courts. It turned out to be from the Yin and Yang sect. This group of people are all scum, but they are so scattered that they can't kill them no matter what. The Dead Night Bee by Fen Lin destroyed several of their strongholds. Why don't you invite experts from the sect? Fen Lin asked. You don't understand. Our Bijian sect is complex. The forces led by the sect leader and the sect elders are restricting each other. As long as the sect leader sends masters, the elders will definitely notice it. Su shook her head lightly. Only the younger generation of masters like her would send. The Presbyterian Church will not notice. Fen Lin agreed. Not surprisingly, this should be the reason why the 18 earthly evils were activated. Liu Nian had been planning for so long, with only one purpose, and that was to make the 18 earthly evils disappear naturally. The top 20 earth demons of the 9 nethers can serve as ordinary sect heads and their strength is very. Only by allowing those people to act can accidents be avoided. As for why he was not allowed to send the 9th earthly demon, the reason was very simple. He was too qualified to deal with a simple Yi family. The others were suspicious. Fen Lin looked at Sui and asked with a smile, what are your plans? Report to the sect masters. It's not too late. It will take our sect at least a day and a half to get here. It should be right tomorrow morning. Sui shook his head, so I don't plan to leave. I have one last chance tomorrow morning. Fen Lin smiled and hugged the back of his head, feeling relieved. He would follow her. Tomorrow at your side, go look for the treasure. Let's first take a look at what kind of natural and earthly treasures there are and how many there are in total. If there are enough, give one as a message to yourself. Early in the morning of the next day, the sky gradually turned white. Sui put the dagger in his pocket and stood up silently, looked at Fen Lin, then turned and walked deeper into the forest. Fen Lin opened his eyes, stretched out, gently shook his neck, and followed the other party. At the same time, inside the cave entrance of an extinct volcano, there were dozens of people, cautiously surrounding a red lotus. Everyone looked at the lotus with all their attention, not daring to blink. One of the bald old men looked towards the entrance of the cave and whispered, Brother, it's dawn. Yeah. Beside the lotus, the one-eyed old man sat cross-legged. He stared at the lotus. In front of him, Brother, Sui, the younger generation of the Bijian sect, should go to recruit reinforcements. Should we hurry? As the bald old man spoke, he stretched out his hand. You don't know anything. The one-eyed old man snorted coldly. When the fire lotus turns into ashes, all the essence of the fire lotus will be injected into the fire lotus seeds. If you pick it up now, you will lose 80% of the medicinal effect. Yeah, I'm just joking. There are a total of 15 fire lotus seeds here. If a master from the White Sword sect comes, we will give him half. The bald old man said, with a smile. What a beautiful idea. The one-eyed old man just finished speaking. A man jumped from the top of the crater. This person is none other than Liu, the evil spirit of the 9 nethers and 18 earthly evils. Boom. Liu's strong body fell to the ground, raising a burst of dust. I give you a chance, get out now or die. Liu crossed his arms and looked at the people around him with an indifferent expression. The one-eyed old man did not speak, just gently waved his hand. All the masters around him rushed towards Liu. Liu raised the corner of his mouth disdainfully, and his figure flashed like a tiger descending from the mountain. Swipe and pull. Everyone around him was reduced to pieces. A bunch of ants, do you know who I am? Liu crossed his arms disdainfully and looked at the one-eyed old man in the distance. I am from the 9 Netherlands. Don't force me to kill people. The one-eyed old man's face suddenly changed. I didn't expect it to be the legendary 9 Netherworld. No wonder he was so ruthless. And what about the 9 others? I am the second master of the Yin Yang sect. The bald old man stepped forward and released all of his ki. Bullet. Bullet. A resounding voice sounded here. Ha ha ha. Ants. Liu Yu laughed contemptuously, stepped on the ground, and the entire volcano trembled violently. Call. His eyes glowed with brown light. Magic opening. When the bald man saw the light in her eyes, his face turned pale with fear and he took a step back involuntarily. Outside the volcano, Sui, who was walking forward slowly, suddenly felt a shock and his expression changed. Could it be that those people were fighting among themselves? He immediately quickened his pace and reached the edge of the crater, silently poking his head out to look inside. Bodies found on the ground and those glowing eyes. Shenqiao. It's over. Sui sighed in his heart, feeling a little weak. The only possibility left now is to hope that they can fight to the death and that both sides suffer. However, Sui also knew in his heart that the 2 heads of the Yin and Yang sect were definitely no match. Internal. The one-eyed old man's expression was uncertain. He was currently in the late stage of resonance. Facing the divine aperture realm, there was no way to beat it. For the last time, get out now, Liu Yu said coldly. Mr. Jialand, we are indeed ashamed of your strength, but we have been waiting for the fire lotus seeds for 10 years. Can you give them to 2 of our brothers? The one-eyed old man said very respectfully. Yes sir, you should be able to see that there are 15 fire lotuses in total. We removed 2 and there are 13 left, another bald old man also said. On the grass on the other side of the crater, Fen Lin listened carefully. From such a long distance, only those with hearing abilities higher than the divine realm can know what they are talking about. 10 years. We've been waiting for almost 30 years. Get out now. Liu Yu shouted coldly. My dear, 30 years of fire lotus seeds. Fen Lin was amazed in his heart and was about to fall. He had never heard of 30 years of fire lotus seeds. There are a total of 15 pills. In this case, in addition to the dead knight members around me, I could also give one to my father to try. However, Fen Lin, who was about to fall, was suddenly startled by a word. Sir, don't scare me, I might accidentally destroy the fire lotus. The one-eyed old man's hand fell on the fire lotus. Liu Yu said proudly, if you destroy the fire lotus, I will break you into pieces. Come out now. You still have a chance to survive. Think about it. Chapter 177. Who can take advantage of the treasures of heaven and earth? Haha, our brothers have been waiting for 10 years. You see how old we have become. We can't live long without the treasures of heaven and earth to sustain our lives. The one-eyed old man's hand has already grabbed the fire lotus. Since we can't, then just destroy it. Liu roared. Of course yes, the fire lotus is 15 fire lotus seeds. Liu Nian's careful calculation has already prepared the candidate. 2 peels were missing out of nowhere. It would be even worse if they thought Liu Nian had hidden them. The only thing that can be done now is to stabilize them first. Okay, anyway, there are 15 in total, and I promise to give you 2. Liu said calmly, and as he spoke, he walked towards the fire lotus with a smile. Hi. The Yin Yang sect led by the one-eyed old man has been able to escape the country's persecution many times and is not so easily fooled. What? What are you going to do? Liu stopped and asked calmly. Sir, please don't get too close to us. I have heard about the speed of the divine orifice realm. Just wait there. When the fire lotus seeds are ripe, we will eat 2 and leave. The old man said with a smile. Liu squinted straight, then sat on the ground, looking at Huoyanzi. Fen Lin hesitated for a long time and felt that it was time to act, otherwise accidents would easily occur. Since Shibadisha and Liu Nian are in the same group, the other party must know their appearance. Then Fen Lin silently took off his coat, punched 2 holes in the black short-sleeved shirt inside, and put it on his head. After putting on his coat again, Fen Lin jumped down. Boom. Fen Lin's feet were firmly planted on the ground. He smiled and said hello. Hello everyone, I was passing by and accidentally fell. Sui from above looked at the familiar casual clothes and cursed secretly. That kid, what, come down? No, Sui's expression suddenly changed. From such a high distance, he could stand his ground when jumping down. At least enter the dark realm. Damn. That kid really tricked me. Sui angrily plucked a grass to see what this kid wanted to do. Other. Liu stood up from the ground, pointed at Fen Lin and said, come out now, otherwise the body on the ground will be your fate. You are so powerful. Fen Lin put his hands in his trouser pockets and walked arrogantly towards the fire lotus. What are you going to do? If you dare to come here again, I will destroy the fire lotus. The one-eyed man shouted sternly. Haha, my purpose is to destroy the fire lotus. Why don't you practice hard? Who can a serious person eat the treasures of heaven and earth? Fen Lin did not slow down, although it was a pity to destroy a treasure like Beautiful Yunan's multi-year plan could be stopped. Fen Lin felt it was worth it. When the one-eyed man saw this, he immediately looked at the bald old man next to him. Stop it. The bald old man exploded his key to the limit and appeared in front of Fen Lin in the blink of an eye. The bald old man suddenly stopped in front of Fen Lin and raised his hand to grab his neck. Click. The bald old man's eyes almost popped out of his sockets and he simply gasped. Fen Lin casually threw him to the ground and calmly said, "The people of the Yin Yang sect deserve their death. Even if the fire lotus is destroyed, we can't let trash like you eat it." When the one-eyed man saw after that, he roared, "Second brother." His hand was about to exert force, but he still held back. He was stuck in the late stage of resonance for decades. As long as you can take fire lotus seeds and enter the realm of divine orifices, it will be just around the corner. The corner. How could he bear to destroy fire lotus? Sui from above was shocked. This boy actually, the second master of the Yin Yang sect, was a master in the middle stage of resonance. Could easily break his neck. How can this be? Liu's pupils at the back suddenly shrank and became more and more difficult. This person is not simple. Do you need me to help you? Fen Lin kicked the corpse at his feet and the bald old man threw it directly at Liuyan. No. The one-eyed old man slapped the bald old man and knocked him down. "Two gentlemen, I will not fight with you by the seeds of fire lotus. Now that my second brother is dead, I just want one. The remaining 14 will be half for each of you." Just as the one-eyed old man did. Speaking, Liu behind him. He suddenly attacked Fen Lin. His speed was extremely fast. "Be careful." Sui from above saw this and immediately shouted. Fen Lin sneered, immediately turned around and kicked Liu's fist. Boom. The terrifying power instantly caused the ground to collapse, causing earth and rocks to fly. Accompanied by resounding sounds all around, Liu suddenly stepped back and almost fell down. He was shocked in his heart. Something bad was going on. This person is stronger than him. He suddenly jumped up, grabbed the lance, and appeared in the crater in the blink of an eye. He grabbed Sui and fell from above. "Don't look at it. You must always keep your eyes on me." Fen Lin's voice suddenly rang in the one-eyed old man's ears. The old man's only eye shrank to the tip of a needle, and just as he was about to destroy the fire lotus, his hand flew out brush. Fen Lin's black scalpel instantly penetrated the opponent's head, quickly pulled it out, and then inserted it into the metal on the front of Fen Lin's belt. The one-eyed old man fell to the ground. Lin squatted on the ground, looked at the fire lotus in front of him, and said with a smile, "It's very pretty." While speaking, he took out his cell phone and took a photo of the fire lotus. "I advise you. Don't waste time or I will kill her." Liu grabbed Sui's delicate neck and sneered. "Kill her? She and I met by chance?" Fen Lin asked calmly. "Sui, do you belong to the side of the sect leader or the side of the Presbyterian Council?" "The sect leader's side." Sui's tears flowed unknowingly. She already knew what Fen Lin was going to say. "Okay. I keep my word. After you die, I will take one out and give it to the leader of the White Sword sect." Fen Lin put away the phone and said in an indifferent tone. Liu's eyes kept shaking. Shannon had paid so much for the Liu family. The fire lotus seeds are the most important part. But I met the person in front of me. He understood Fen Lin's thoughts very well. This was a fire lotus seed. The life of a simple woman was nothing. The two sides were at a stalemate and no one took the next step. Finally, the early morning sun comes in. The fire lotus in front of Fen Lin gradually turned black and turned into ashes. The blood-red fire lotus seeds fell to the ground one by one. "Hey. That's good." Fen Lin smiled and picked up all the fire lotus seeds, put them in his pocket, then stretched out and looked at Liu with cold eyes. "Boy. I hope you have some humanity. This woman's life will be changed by 3 fire lotus seeds." Liu said loudly. "You're thinking too much. You're going to lose your life. Do you still want fire lotus seeds?" Fen Lin smiled and spread his hands, walking towards him step by step. "Do you really know who I am?" Liu grabbed Sui's neck and kept backing away. "One. I only want one. Give it to me and I'll let her go right away." No matter what, he would give us a piece of Liuyan. Liuyan is the hope of the Liu family. Chapter 178 Multiple Choice Questions. Fen Lin's left eye suddenly turned red and said with a smile, "I am not a compassionate virgin. The lives of ordinary people cannot stop me." Fen Lin's figure disappeared in the blink of an eye, killing Liu mercilessly. Liu's eyes showed a fierce look. He grabbed Sui's neck with one hand and blocked her in front of him. Sui closed her eyes tightly, tears welling up in her eyes. "Fen Lin, remember your words." Fen Lin. Are you Fen Lin? Liu Yu grabbed Sui's neck and flew back, such a young voice, in such a state, I should have thought it was you. Haha, have you decided to die? Fen Lin removed the black short sleeves from his head, revealing his original appearance. Liu Yu continued to retreat. Liu Nan had said that whenever he saw Fen Lin, he would avoid fighting with him. Liu Yu was still unconvinced at first, but now he finally knew how powerful Fen Lin was. At this level, he should enter the level of the top 10 evil spirits on Earth. Liu Yu took a deep breath. If he wanted to retreat, there was only one way. Click. Click. Liu Yu twisted Sui's arms. Sui bit her lip in pain, but even so, tears still flowed out. Fen Lin. Multiple choice question, who do you choose? Liu Yu threw Sui to the left. The next moment, he threw 3 flying knives from his body, aiming for Sui's head. He ran to the right. Fen Lin has 2 options. First, kill Liu Yu. In this case Sui will be killed by flying knife. Secondly, Liu Yu can escape smoothly by rescuing Sui. Fen Lin had no time to hesitate. If he hesitated too much, Liu Yu would flee and Sui would die. Oh. Fen Lin appeared in front of Sui and brought down 3 flying knives with one palm. When he looked to the right, Liu Yu had disappeared. Grandma's. Fen Lin grabbed Sui's arm and said coldly, I saved your life again. Sui lowered his head, not knowing what to say, and his eyes were dull. Fen Lin grabbed their arms respectively and lifted them up forcefully. Hearing a click, Sui's eyes widened and he took a deep breath. He picked up the black short-sleeved shirt that had just been thrown on the ground, tore it into strips of cloth, and fixed Sui's arms. It's okay, you can rest like this now. It's best not to move. If there's any aftermath, it will be useless from now on. Fen Lin said coldly. Thank you for saving me, Sui said solemnly. He thought he was going to die earlier, but he didn't expect to survive. Thank God for that. Fen Lin no longer spoke, he looked at the sky, the sunlight was already shining on the earth and everything revived. He decided to take it out, and as for the fire lotus seeds in his hand, he was also going to give her one as a thank you gift. Come on, I'll get you out of this place. Fen Lin first hugged the other person's body, ran towards the mountain peak, and then left the other person on the ground after falling outside. Let's go out together. I will fulfill what I promised you before. Fen Lin took out a fiery red fire lotus seed from his body and put it in Sui's pocket. After that, he took his cell phone and sent a message to Lanny, telling her that the matter was over. No more satellites. After sending the message, Fen Lin took the other party and left this primeval forest. Because they were carrying one person, Fen Lin's speed was much slower. About 2 or 3 hours passed before they finally arrived outside the forest. Can you go back alone? Do you need me to see you off? Fen Lin asked. No, haha, I can go back alone. I really appreciate it this time, thank you. Sui had very complicated feelings about Fen Lin. There's gratitude, but there's also fear. Because the way Fen Lin fought before was really terrifying. Okay, then I won't send you away. Be careful on the way. Fen Lin was not too worried. This woman is a teacher. Although her arms are temporarily unable to move, she can defeat many people simply by relying on her feet. It's really surprising that she survived and hid a baby. Sui looked towards Fen Lin's leaving figure and shook his head slightly. Fen Lin took a taxi and headed to the Narcissus Club. Arriving at the Narcissus Club, Fen Lin looked at the people around him with a smile. Guess what gifts I brought you this time? They all seemed strange. Fen Lin said with a smile. Fire lotus seeds, a treasure of heaven and earth. Fire lotus. Quick. Let me see. Men Changshen's expression suddenly changed. He had heard of this heaven and earth treasure before. It was not an ordinary thing. Fen Lin took out the thing with a smile on his face and handed it to Men Changshen. Second master, is this real or fake? Men Changshen watched carefully, then put it in front of his nose and sniffed it gently, with a smile on his face cannot be hidden at all. Okay. This is really a fire lotus seed. This is not an ordinary thing. This is a real treasure. It will take at least 30 years to mature. This fire lotus seed of yours is obviously mature, he tripped Men Changshen. His voice and said, Boy, I'd better leave you such a precious thing. Even if I'm an old man, I dare not ask for it and I can't afford it. I mean, second master, do you think I'm telling you that big? I have the treasure, is there only one? Fen Lin reached into his pocket, took out all the fire lotus seeds, and put them in the palm of his hand. Several people around looked at Fen Lin's palm and they were all shocked and speechless. There were so many. They should be complete fire lotuses. Did you get them all? Men Changshen's eyes widened. That's right, let's go, one each. Fen Lin gave one to Yan Yabai and Sakam Jin. As for the one in Mencheng in his hand, he did not take it. Just eat it directly. Fire lotus seeds have the effect of strengthening the meridians and permanently strengthening the body. After Mencheng finished speaking, he put it into his mouth and swallowed it as if he were eating jelly beans. Sakam Jin and Yan Yabai did the same and ate them all. Fen Lin took one himself, sat on the sofa and ate one. There were originally 15 pills and they gave one to Su Yi. The 4 of them ate 4 pills and now there are still 10 pills left. 2 of them belong to Fenken and Lao Yu, and the remaining 8 need to be discussed. In a black car, Liu Yu recorded a video with his mobile phone. The person inside was none other than Liu Nian. Shao Nian, uncle who was sorry for you. I didn't expect that when I got the things right away, I met Feng Lin. Liu Yu punched his leg. What? How did you know? Liu Nian's eyes flashed with disbelief. He took a deep breath, covered his face, and didn't speak for a long time. There are 15 fire lotus seeds in total and he has already contacted 15 people here. As long as you take it, your strength will definitely reach dishes level in 3 years. When the time comes, the Liu family, will be able to control the second sect again. But now, Shanayan. What should we do? What should we do? Liu's face was full of guilt. Hey. Fen Lin, Liu Nian paused and said, Uncle Hu, please go back first. I'm going to tell the 9 sect masters of the 9 nethers about everyone's faces in the dead night. Chapter 179 Liu Xiaoban's blind date. Fen Lin called his father, but he couldn't get through. He sent the photos he took of the fire lotus to Fen Chen and after seeing them, he would definitely respond. After interrogation, Fen Lin learned that the group of ninjas did not continue the attack. The orders should have been issued the same month. Now that he knows that everything this time was directed and acted by Liu Nian, he has no reason to continue being fooled. I forgot one thing. Fen Lin suddenly slapped his forehead. I will go to the Wei family and capture Lian Dai and the others. Don't go, boss. After you leave, the second master will leave me. Look at them, but they're already gone. Yan Yabai smiled and spread his hands. It should be the second sect reported in the same month. Fen Lin didn't care. Anyway, he had already escaped, so there was no point in worrying about it. He said goodbye to a few people and prepared to go find Zhu Roying. His plan was to get one for Zhu Roying. Feng Ken said that he owed the Zhu family a favor. Send him a message first. Fen Lin learned that Zhu Roying was in the company, so he brought Wu Ling Huangwen there. Parking the car in front of the company gate, Fen Lin found that there were gradually more people in the company. There are already many security guards controlling order and some young people are queuing to be interviewed. Fen Lin remembered that Zhu Roying was preparing to reopen. When he reached the hall, he saw Tang Hong in the distance. He walked over with a smile and said, Andy, where is Zhu Roying? Mr. Zhu was in the office. Tang Hong noticed Fen Lin approaching, and immediately walked over to greet him with a smile. Passing what happened this time was that Zhu Roying had promoted her to lobby manager. The salary has doubled. Fen Lin nodded and took the elevator to the top floor. Zhu Roying was one of theirs anyway, so he opened the door and walked in without knocking. He found a man sitting in the office. He had broken hair and was wearing a suit. He looked at Zhu Roying with a smile on his face, shouting, You better not make me angry. As soon as he finished speaking, he found that Fen Lin pushed the door open. Opened, her face was a little sad. How dare you enter the CEO's office without knocking? Fen Lin just looked at the young man casually, and then looked at Zhu Roying, which was the first time he saw her. She seemed nervous and scared. What's going on? Fen Lin felt very uncomfortable when he saw Zhu Roying like this. Maybe he really liked her. Boy, do you want to play the hero and save a beauty in front of the president? The man with broken hair in front of him stood up with a smile, his eyes full of contempt. Get out. Fen Lin slapped the man in the face. Brat, how dare you hit me? Wang Wei looked at him in disbelief. What's wrong with hitting you? Fen Lin asked coldly. Fen Lin. Very good. Zhu Roying immediately ran over and stood in front of Fen Lin. She turned and looked at Wang Wei. He is my boyfriend. If you dare to touch him, you will never get the recipe. Haha, I'll give you 2 days. Wang Yi covered her face and before leaving, she looked at Fen Lin coldly and wanted to get the recipe first. After leaving, Fen Lin closed the door and looked at Zhu Roying. What's wrong with you? Did he bully you? Zhu Roying looked at Fen Lin's worried look and suddenly laughed happily. Do you care about me? Fen Lin pouted and touched Zhu Roying's forehead. What happened? Jiang by Wei family, have you heard about it? Zhu Roying asked helplessly while sitting on the sofa. I don't know. Fen Lin shook his head gently. 20 years ago, you must have heard of it, because at that time, they were a rich family in Jiabai. Zhu Wang looked at Fen Lin and sighed deeply. However, now they have become a lonely family. Hidden family. Surprise crossed Fen Lin's expression. He naturally knew this kind of family. He also knew many of them. The Hidden World family is very strong. A high-class Hidden World family is, for to put it bluntly, equivalent to a sect. Unlike the sect, they let their servants run the company and make money. As for the family itself, they keep a very low profile and hide it. Do you mean that person just now is from the Hidden World family? That's right, but it can only be called a divided family. Zhu Wang also just found out from her mother. Your mother is the one who separated the family. Your mother? Wang Qin. Fen Lin was so surprised that he almost jumped. He didn't expect that woman to be from the hidden family. But this is too unpleasant. That kind of snobbish woman is completely incompatible with the hidden family. It's true. My mother was the one who separated the family. After Zhu Wang's explanation, Fen Lin probably knew about the Wang Qin family. It turns out that Wang Qin's mother is one of the wives of the head of the family, Mr. Wang. However, the Wang family has a rule that only those who have become ancient warriors can live in the family. Therefore, Wang Qin's maternal family will leave the family and start his own business when he reaches adulthood. Wang Qin also had an older brother. When Wang Qin and his older brother became adults, they were expelled from the family. The Wang Li now is Uncle Zhu Wang's son. It's such a complicated relationship. The boy just now can be considered a relative of yours. It seems that your relationship is not good, Fen Lin sighed. That's because back then, my mother insisted on marrying my father. Later, every time she returned to her parents' house, she was ridiculed and finally cut off all contact with them, Zhu Wang explained. Fen Lin was extremely surprised and had a slight change in his view of Wang Qin. Wang came just now and said that I have issued an order to hand over the prescription you gave me, otherwise I will bear the consequences. Zhu Wang looked at Fen Lin and lowered her head. Fen Lin nodded. No wonder Zhu Wang was so nervous and scared right now. For ordinary people, the Hidden World family is a big mountain, plus it is his mother's family. It is natural to be afraid. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. Fen Lin smiled at Zhu Wang. Hey. Fen Lin, you don't like me, do you? Zhu Wang suddenly raised her eyebrows. Fen Lin nodded flatly, a little. You have to keep working hard and try to catch me. Duh. Shameless Zhu Wang's cheeks suddenly turned red, but she felt happy in her heart. He had long said that if he took action and sealed that forest, he would definitely not be able to escape its grasp. Fen Lin felt that under the current circumstances, it was best not to give him the fire lotus seeds. He first said goodbye to Zhu Wang and prepared to talk to Yixin. With his addition, even the lone family would have to think twice. After leaving Zhu Wang's company, Fen Lin was about to get into the car when he saw an acquaintance. Liu Xiaonan. When he saw Fen Lin, he immediately ran to greet. Sir, why are you here? Looking for a friend. What are you doing here? Fen Lin asked strangely. Well, my mother found out that I came to Yan City, so she found me a blind date. Liu Xiaonan smiled bitterly. See you at the cafe opposite. Anyway, I have nothing to do, so I just want to go with you. Fen Lin put his hands in his trouser pockets and walked over. Arriving at the cafe in the distance, Liu Xiaonan walked towards the woman by the window, who was wearing heavy makeup and looked like she was in her 30s. He had seen the photo before and approached it. Fen Lin was sitting at the table next to them. Hello, I'm Liu Xiaonan. I'm sorry I'm late. You remember your name is Liu Ting, right? You said that by coincidence, we might have been a family in our previous life. Liu Xiaonan smiled and sat across from him. The woman. You are late for the meeting. Points will be deducted. Liu Ting held the makeup mirror with a cold expression on his face and ignored her joke. Let's not waste our time. I'll get right to the point. Do you have a room? Chapter 180 Go wash your feet. Fen Lin shook his head slightly at his side. He felt that it might not be possible. After all, Liu Xiaonan had been hurt before, and if he met the same kind of woman again, he would definitely reject her from the bottom of his heart. Sorry, if it's a house in Yan City, then I don't have one now. Liu Xiaonan shook his head slightly. Of course it's a house in Yan City. Is it possible that I want a house in a small level 18 city or even a village? Liu Ting looked at Liu Xiaonan with some dissatisfaction. Do you have a car? Yes. Liu Xiaonan nodded. What car? Liu Ting asked, raising his eyes. Volkswagen, forget it. Does Volkswagen also call cars? Mercedes-Benz and BMW are trash, and Porsche is the lowest standard. Liu Ting pursed his lips and sighed deeply. How much is your monthly salary? Fen Lin looked at him. His eyes looked towards the south, his expression already impatient. I am quite satisfied with my salary, but you have already asked me some questions. Should I ask you some questions? Liu Xiaoban smiled slightly. How much is your monthly salary? Me. 3,000 isn't it? Liu Tin suddenly looked at Liu Xiaoban in disbelief. When you get married in the future, you don't want me to work, right? Shouldn't you work? Liu Xiaoban asked. Do not be ridiculous. After my friends got married, they all became little fairies at home. Do you know how painful it is for us to have children? Liu Tin said coldly. PFFT, Fen Lin laughed out loud. If it were a woman like Zhu Rong, it would be barely acceptable to say something like a little fairy. But with such a big face and a makeup that looks like facial makeup, she still dares to call herself a little fairy. Who gave her the courage? Why are you laughing? Fen Lin stood next to her and shouted coldly. Isn't that right? I looked at my phone and smiled. Does it bother you? Fen Lin picked up his phone. Hearing this, Liu Tin pursed his lips and looked at Liu Xiaoban again. The question I just asked, how much is your monthly salary? If the salary is not bad, the above conditions can be relaxed. But my salary is not bad. Arranged. Liu Xiaoban said lightly. He was already planning to leave. He couldn't bear to leave this type of woman to someone else. Isn't it fixed? Liu Tin's eyes lit up. Under normal circumstances, salaries for jobs that are not permanent are very high. Let's do this. When we get married in the future, you will give me a gift of 800,000 yuan, and you won't have to pay for the house and car in full. Liu Xiaoban laughed angrily. This woman really dared to ask for it. Fen Lin also laughed. If this kind of person is good, there is nothing wrong with asking for so many things. For example, if your monthly salary is more than 100,000 yuan, you can definitely ask your husband to do it. But your salary is only 2,000 to 3,000. Is this a dream? Why are you laughing? You didn't look at your phone at all. Liu Tin patted the table, stood up and pointed at Fen Lin. Sorry, I just saw a joke. I'm really laughing at you this time. Fen Lin grabbed Liu Xiaoban by the shoulders. What are you doing standing there? Let's go. So you guys are in the same group. Look how poor you are, a waste of time. Liu Tin walked out with a look of disdain. Fen Lin put his arm around Liu Xiaoban's shoulders, smiled and shook his head. There are many good girls. Yeah. Liu Xiaoban nodded with a smile. Now that his salary is not low, he doesn't believe. Can't find a good woman. When the two went out, they found Liu Tin waiting for a taxi not far away. They ignored each other and walked towards Zhu Rong's company together. By the way, didn't you drive here? Fen Lin suddenly asked. No, brother two borrowed my car and said he was going to do something. Liu Xiaoban shook his head slightly. I'm going to find Yixin. You can take my car. Fen Lin opened Wu Linghuang's car door. At that moment, a taxi stopped in front of them. Liu Tin lowered the glass and smiled disdainfully. It's so embarrassing. You lied to me about driving a Volkswagen. People like you will never find a girlfriend in their life. You are so poor. After that, the taxi left here. From your grandmother, get in the car. As soon as Fen Lin finished speaking, another car stopped next to them. It was a Volkswagen. Sir, Xiaonan. And bald man got out of the car. Liu Tu smiled and patted Liu Xiaoban on the shoulder. Thank you for the car. Didn't you take time off for a blind date today? Why are you here? Stop talking, you. It's rubbish. Liu Xiaoban waved his hand. Haha, that's why I'm this relaxed. Let's go. Anyway, you're on leave today. I will ask you to wash your feet. After Liu Tu finished speaking, he looked at Fen Lin and said with a smile, Sir, where are you going? I won't do it anymore. Fen Lin shook his head. Sir, the store is regular. He can't do anything inside. However, some employees are irregular. As long as you negotiate the price, you can trade outside. Liu Tu laughed next to him. The main staff under Yixin were spreading the word, Fen Lin is Yixin's man. If you have a girlfriend like that, you won't find such a woman. Disgusting. Okay, relax. Fen Lin nodded. After spending the night in the forest yesterday, he felt back pain and it was time for a professional massage. He drove to Wolinghongwing and followed the Volkswagen all the way to a foot-washing city. After a few people came over, the boss hurriedly came to greet them and recognized Liu Tu. This is a bit shot and can't be neglected. Haha, isn't this brother too? Are you interested in coming to my house to have fun? The boss, a middle-aged man with a somewhat fat figure, smiled. Well, let's find a group of people we can go out with, Liu Tu said with a smile in front of him. Brother too, I understand. The boss smiled meaningfully. After you two finished speaking, he led Fenlin and Liu Xiaodan into a private room. Shaolin, Mr. Fenlin doesn't like those vulgar fans. And you? Brother, I'll give you a chance, Liu Tu asked with a smile. I'd better forget, I'm a very traditional person. Liu Xiaodan shook his head. Haha, compared to you, I'm just trash. Liu Tu extended hands and lamented, but these women are also trash and just fit together. While they were talking, the three of them came to a private room and I sat on recliners. While some people were chatting, the previous boss walked in with a smile, followed by 6 women. They all wear a lot of makeup and very little clothing. What are you doing standing here? You haven't introduced yourself yet. These are some big shots. If you neglect them, I won't forgive you. The boss shouted to several people. Hello, boss, I am number 1, Zhou Mei, and today I am 23 years old. Hello, boss, I am number 2, Zhao Zhang, and I'm 25 years old this year. Hello, boss, I'm number 6, Zhou Mei. Ting, I'm 29 years old this year. A familiar voice sounded here and Fenlin looked up. He was extremely surprised. This number 6 turned out to be Liu Tin just now. Boss. Do you really look down on me? You just found this rubbish and changed it. Liu Tu shouted sternly. Wait. Fenlin suddenly said loudly, stay on the 6th. Thank you, boss. Liu Tin always kept her head down, because it would make her look smaller and she usually couldn't do business. So I can only lower the price and I can be asked out for 300 yuan. I didn't expect to be so lucky today to be favored by him. Distinguished guest of the boss. She simply raised her head and was dumbfounded. Chapter 181 800,000 becomes 500 yuan. Liu Tin was dumbfounded. Wasn't this her blind date just now? Liu Xiaodan didn't pay attention before, because the other party was no. 6, standing outside. After Fenlin reminded him, he realized that wasn't this woman he was dating just now. Liu Tu was a little strange. Logically speaking, someone of Fenlin's level would look down on a woman like that. Then, he nodded slightly. Fenlin had a deep meaning. Anyway, it's just a simple massage. Find an ugly person, and you can explain it to Yishen when you come back in the future. No. 6, please stay, boss, and give us another batch. Liu Tu raised his head and said to the boss. Okay, brother 2. The boss asked the rest of the people to come out and prepared to change a batch. Liu Tin was the only one left here. She lowered her head and had no face to see anyone. How could it be such a coincidence? No. 6, give this brother a massage. Fenlin pointed to Liu Xiaodan. Liu Tin wished he could find a crack in the ground and crawl through it, but he still had to live and earn as much as he could. Haha. Shaolin, these people can get an appointment. Liu Tu didn't know what happened between them, so he asked with a smile. Sister, how much does it cost to get a date? 10,000, 10,000. What the hell? Do you think this is my first time here? Call your boss, you're trying to trick me. Liu Tu suddenly became angry, looking like this with so much makeup. Ugly, this kind of thing is usually sponsored by older men. 300 or 400 yuan at best. No. Liu Tu still trusted his boss to provide him with food. He had no choice but to bite the bullet and said, 500. Liu Xiaodan smiled and shook his head, lay down and sighed, hey. I just returned the money. It costs 800,000 yuan. If you changed places, it will become 500 yuan. It's destiny. Mr. Yu, I know I'm wrong. We can try. I do not do it. I want the money. Liu Tin hurried over and grabbed Liu Xiaodan's hand. Let me go. Liu Xiaodan shook off the other person's hand and said calmly, I am a serious person. Come on, wash your feet. At the same time, the boss found another group of people, and Fenlin picked one at random. Liu Tu was looking for someone with a mature figure. After Fenlin washed his feet, was ready to leave first, while Liu Xiaodan immediately followed Fenlin. He is an honest man and doesn't like this kind of place. Fenlin took Liu Xiaodan back, went upstairs to tell Yishen about Zhu Ruoying and asked him to open a company with Zhu Ruoying in the near future. Strength and cooperation. Yishen was happy to agree, and everything was originally handed over by Fenlin. Sir, have you finished talking about me? Who was playing chess with Men Changshen, raised his head and asked with a smile, it's over for now, but Fenlin paused as he spoke. He remembered that there was indeed a secret in Yidan. This incident, other people in Jialand will probably ignore her for the time being. Fenlin didn't know if Liu Nian expected this. If so, one day in the future, Liu Nian's people will definitely come into contact with Yidan. Fenlin shook his head, turned and left. He originally planned to chat with Su Kangjin, but received a call from Zhu Ruoying asking him to go home. Fen Lin drove back to the villa and found that there was an extra Porsche here. Entering the hall, I found out that it was Zhu Chuan and Wei Qin. His and Zhu Ruang's expressions were a little ugly. Fen Lin stepped forward and asked, "What's wrong?" "My mother-in-law called me just now and asked me to hand over the recipe so that the Wei family could enjoy the dividends," Wei Qin said from the side with a depressed expression. She also didn't expect that her original plan was that she could finally defend herself. Unexpectedly, the Wei family was interested in the profits from the skincare product and planned to keep it. The Wei family is so shameless. Such a condescending tone is so uncomfortable. Zhu Chuan clenched his fists, but he was also helpless. "Fen Lin, why don't you hand it over?" "My mother even called me personally this time," Wei Qin asked tentatively. Her mother was not considered a legitimate wife and she was not a member of a large family, so she could not hold her head up high in the family. This time I finally had the chance to feel proud. Fen Lin sat next to Zhu Ruang and said with a smile, "I can hand the recipe to you." "Is that really possible?" Zhu Ruang pursed her lips, her expression a little aggrieved. She originally had a strong personality, but because Fen Lin had always favored her, she developed an inferiority complex. "Okay, but tell the Wei family that only my dad knows the best part and ask them to come see me in person. This recipe is actually a very common recipe at home. In fact, it can promote blood circulation, promote muscle growth and regulate the body. It is effective both externally and internally, but must be taken for many years." Fen Lin could make Fangzi take a qualitative leap because he extracted the essence. "Well, thank you." Zhu Ruang grabbed Fen Lin's arm. Fen Lin took out his mobile phone, edited the medicinal materials in specific weights into a text message, and sent it to Zhu Ruang's mobile phone. Zhu Chuan showed gratitude. "Fen Lin, our Zhu family owes you another favor." "You're welcome," Fen Lin greeted with a smile. He was about to hang up the phone when he found a call from his father. He immediately came out with his cell phone. Fen Chen shouted there. "Boy. Fire Lotus. Real or fake?" "Of course it's real. I left one for you. When will you come and get it?" Fen Lin asked with a smile. "I heard from Lao Men that you were in Yan City recently and I am busy here. I will send someone later and you can leave it to her." After Fen Chen finished speaking, he hung up the phone. "Hey, I'm looking for my mother." Fen Lin sighed softly and looked at Zhu Ruang, who was with her because she had memories of the past. Now the line is broken. After Wei Qin handed the recipe to the superior, she thanked Fen Lin and returned to Zhu Chuan. Fen Lin returned to the living room again, resting on Zhu Ruang's lap, enjoying the long-lost silence. "Who was more beautiful, Zhao Qingqing or me?" Zhu Ruang suddenly asked. Since he knew that this employee was in love with her man, he felt like a threat when he looked at Zhao Qingqing. He also knew that Fen Lin liked gentle and calm women. "You are more beautiful," Fen Lin said calmly. Zhu Ruang nodded in satisfaction. "But Qingqing is cuter," Fen Lin continued. Zhu Ruang, who was still nodding in satisfaction, suddenly darkened and bowed suddenly. "I'm going to strangle you to death." Fen Lin received a call and the other party said that he was here to get it. The fire lotus seeds. Then he left and drove to his destination. In front of a shopping mall in the center of Yan City, Fen Lin looked around and then dialed the above phone number. In the distance, a woman in a dress with long hair that reached her waist elegantly picked up her mobile phone. He has straight bangs and a very dignified look. Fen Lin immediately walked over and asked with a smile, "Did my dad ask you to come here?" "Are you Fen Lin?" "I'm Lu Yao. Good to see you." Lu Yao lifted her skirt and said to her. Fen Lin smiled and nodded. "I'm happy too." Fen Lin was a little surprised. His father still thought of such a beautiful girl. "Are you in a hurry?" "If nothing happens, I will treat you to food." Mr. Fen Chen said he was in a hurry and asked me to stay here for one night and come find him tomorrow. Lu Yao smiled sweetly. "Okay," Fen Lin nodded. She was such a quiet woman who looked like she was about 20 years old. He decided to take it home and let Zhu Ruang learn from it. Chapter 182 A Family Invitation. Fen Lin brought Lu Yao to Wuling Huangwen, who kept her hands on her knees and looked dignified the entire time. Fen Lin couldn't help but feel that this person should be the eldest lady of the hidden family. After returning home, Fen Lin and Lu Yao got off the car together. "Please come with me. You can stay here tonight." Fen Lin entered the living room and found Zhu Ruang working on a sofa with a laptop. Zhu Ruang was about to say hello when she saw the woman next to Fen Lin. He suddenly opened his lips. "Who is she?" "She is, hello, I am Lu Yao, I am Fen Lin's future wife." Lu Yao elegantly lifting her skirt, she smiled at Zhu Ruang. Fen Lin and Zhu Ruang were stunned. "That is wrong." Fen Lin immediately took out the photos and looked at them carefully, but he couldn't find any photos of this woman. Haha, Lu Yao, are you sure she is my fiancée? Fen Lin was a little embarrassed. Didn't you finish giving the photos to Dad? Yes. Mr. Fen Chen personally agreed. Lu Yao nodded with a smile, looked at Zhu Ruang, and said with a smile, I haven't served you tea yet. Fuck you, man. Zhu Ruang immediately closed her notebook. This woman is so crazy that she was ready to turn around as a guest as soon as she arrived. Who are you? Do you know who I am? Do you want me to serve you tea? Zhu Ruang stood up suddenly and asked 3 questions in a row. Fen Lin, are all your servants so ignorant of etiquette? Lu Yao looked at Fen Lin in confusion. Servant? Zhu Ruang laughed angrily. He walked over, pointed at Lu Yao and said, I am Fen Lin's wife. It turns out to be a concubine. Lu Yao suddenly realized and smiled again, are you welcome? Just call me sister from now on. Concubine. Zhu Ruang was so angry that she couldn't speak. The key point was that the other party's expression didn't seem to be sarcastic, but that she really thought that. It's okay, it's just a joke, Xiaoling, don't you? Don't worry. Fen Lin went at Zhu Ruang. Why is this a joke? Fen Lin, my parents and your father have already agreed. You do not agree. This will make it impossible for me to get married. Lu Yao looked at Fen Lin seriously, with clear eyes. Fen Lin didn't know what to say, took out his phone and walked out, preparing to ask Fen Chen for details. Sister, don't shout in front of your husband from now on, it's disrespectful to you, Lu Yao said calmly when she saw Fen Lin leave. Zhu Ruang looked at Lu Yao disdainfully, you don't seem to be older than me. Me, right? I'm not just talking about age. Lu Yao looked in front of Zhu Ruang, then lowered her head and looked at herself. Her face a little sullen, sister, you're a bit rude. Zhu Ruang raised her eyebrows angrily. Hey, have you lost your status now? As a concubine, you're too presumptuous. Lu Yao frowned and she raised her right hand, ready to fight. Fen Lin immediately grabbed her wrist from behind. Lin looked secretly surprised. This woman is so strong. Fen Lin, did you see it? He's going to hit me. Anyway, there were no outsiders here, so Zhu Ruang was ready to let herself go. She couldn't stand this kind of prudery. Maybe, like Lan Rao, there was a demon living in her heart. Therefore, how dignified Lu Yao is, how frivolous she is. Don't hit anyone, everyone is equal in front of me. Fen Lin lowered Lu Yao's wrist. Lu Yao nodded, but still said, it's wrong. That you do this. Sometimes the rules are very important, otherwise there will be clowns. Zhu Ruang frowned, hugged Fen Lin's arm and acted coquettishly, Fen Lin, she scolded me again. As she spoke, she didn't forget to shake Fen Lin's arm, as if she was a lover competing for a favor. Although Fen Lin's arm is very comfortable now, Zhu Ruang's appearance is too much to need a beating. A few pats on the butt. How inappropriate. Lu Yao took Zhu Ruang's arm and pulled her away from Fen Lin. Okay, stop making trouble, don't say a word, and the other party's phone was turned off. We can only talk about it later. At this moment, Fen Lin's cell phone vibrated, he thought it was Fen Chen who called him, he picked it up and looked at it, and found that it was from him. Fen Lin's face suddenly became solemn and left with his cell phone. Zhu Ruang and Lu Yao on the sofa watched Fen Lin leave and looked at each other with eyes that seemed to kill people. Xiao Yu, why are you calling? This trip to Yan City allowed Fen Lin to obtain such a precious treasure. Now you can still feel that there's a constant flow of heat in your body, flowing through your meridians. Obviously, the effectiveness of fire lotus seeds is still being revealed. He has reached the verge of a breakthrough and hopes to be able to do so with the help of fire lotus seeds this time. All this, the same month helped. Tongju said with a smile. I just received the news that the photos of all the people on the night of your death have been published in Jia Land. It must be Liu Nan, who was so angry. Fen Lin raised the corners of his mouth slightly and planned a few things. When it was about to be completed, it suddenly fell short. This feeling couldn't be more bitter and refreshing. Brother Fen Lin, did you get something good? Tongju asked with a smile, why did all you family of the second sect go all out? I'm sorry, this is for me. I can't tell you. Unless you tell me where the 9 others are. Fen Lin said lightly. I can't say this, but I saw the Liu Nan you were talking about and took the initiative to mention your name, he said suddenly. Tongyu. Really? What did she say? Fen Lin couldn't help but think of the past. She said that this time you ruined her big event and made her sad. He also plans to make you sad and tell you to be careful recently. When he said this in the same month, that kind of laughter passed, which was scary endlessly. Fen Lin looked serious and asked indifferently, why are you laughing? I said that brother Fenlin is a fiancé and she said she was going to kill your fiancé. In this case, I will lose some competitors. Same. You. I advise you not to act recklessly. Fenlin's voice was a little louder. Hate, Liunan wants to take revenge on you. What does that have to do with me? Tong Yu was a little sad. Xiao Yu, I can help you deal with the second sect. As the first sect, haven't you already been disliked? Fenlin said sharply. Don't worry, I will definitely ask you for help if I need anything. Tong Yu paused and said, okay, I will continue to consolidate my cultivation. Goodbye, brother Fenlin. Fenlin looked at he hung up the cell phone with cold and sharp eyes. If what Tong Yu said is true, you must be careful of Yunan's revenge. Fenlin. At this moment, Zhuang ran out of the villa in a panic. What's wrong? Did he bully you again? Fenlin put away the phone helplessly. It was my mother who made the call. He said that the Wang family should let us go there in person, including you. Zhuang was very nervous. The hidden family was not comparable to these wealthy families. With Fenlin's temperament, he was afraid of causing death. TCH, isn't it the Wang family? Just leave, when? Tomorrow, Zhuang replied. Chapter 183 Hospitality. Fenlin nodded. Anyway, there was no urgent matter at hand. Back at the villa together, Lu Yao had already gone to the kitchen and started cooking. Seeing Fenlin come in, he poked his head out with a smile. I saw there were ingredients here, so I started making it myself. Okay, Fenlin nodded and was able to enjoy the long-lost silence. Zhuang stood at the kitchen door, watching to see if the other party did what he did on his mobile phone. But she was disappointed, not to mention other things, only the other party's knife skills discouraged her. After a while, Lu Yao brought several plates of side dishes, which turned into 2 bowls of rice, and placed them in front of Fenlin and her. Zhuang rubbed her hands, preparing to try it and see how it tasted. Suddenly, he raised his head. Where is mine? Sorry, I forgot. Lu Yao stood up with a smile and walked towards the kitchen again. Zhuang pursed her lips. This was more or less the same. How improper would it be to not give you food in your own home? Lu Yao walked over with the bowl and placed it in front of Zhuang. Zhuang lowered her head and found that there was only a steamed bun in the bowl, not even chopsticks. What the hell are you, feeding the dog? Zhuang slammed her hand on the table. She's just a concubine. It's pretty good to have them dining at the same table. Lu Yao smiled and served some food to Fenlin. Fenlin looked at the two of them carefully and found that they were both looking at him, as if waiting for his statement. He picked up his bowl of rice nonchalantly and looked at the two of them as he ate. You two annoy me a lot. It's easy to want me to take someone's side. Who will sleep with you today? With this sentence, the two people in front of him were worried, and the people lowered their heads at the same time. Zhuang, why don't you do it? Fenlin patted Zhuang on the shoulder. Zhuang's body suddenly staggered. He ran to the kitchen with a smile and grabbed a pair of chopsticks. Haha, steamed buns taste good. TCH. Then I'll be by Lu Yao's side. Lu Yao will sleep together today. Fenlin raised his head with a smile. We're not married yet, haha. In fact, we're not married yet, so we shouldn't call each other concubines. Lu Yao also ran to the kitchen and served Zhuang a bowl of rice. Fenlin pursed her lips and wanted to be arrogant in front of him. If you really get married in the future, it will be the same when you encounter this kind of thing. It will take you directly back to the room to clean up. After eating and drinking, Zhuang found a room for Lu Yao. After that, neither of them came down again. Fenlin looked at the plates and chopsticks in front of him, helplessly arranged them, and returned to his room to rest. Early the next morning, Lu Yao got up early and prepared to return. Fenlin handed over the fire lotus seeds in his hand. At this time, he still needs to examine the other party. Anyway, there are many here. If this person is really good, Fenlin will also give him one. A black honky car parked in front of Zhuang's villa. Lu Yao bid farewell to Fenlin and left by car. What did you talk about yesterday? Fenlin asked with a smile after watching him leave. A little secret between women. Zhuang showed a slight smile. Not long after having breakfast, Zhu Chuan and Wang Qing walked over and prepared to go to Wang's house. Before leaving, a few people sat on the sofa and reviewed their lines. Especially Zhuang. When he was very young, he once went to the Wang family, but then he lost contact and even forgot what some of them were like. Wang Qing specially took some photos for Zhuang to meet. Feeling that it was almost finished, the two parties drove their own cars to Yangshi. Yangshi is located in southern Jiangbai and borders Jiangnan. Zhu Chuan drove a Porsche and took his wife with him, and Zhuang drove a Mercedes-Benz and took Fenlin with him. Be sure to keep a low profile. Don't talk if you can. If someone asks you, just answer politely, Zhuang warned from the side. You also know how I am, I never look for trouble. Fen Lin touched his ears impatiently. Yangship. It is not as developed as Young City, but the Wang family is hidden here. This type of larger royal family has no direct relationship with geographical location. Although its headquarters is in Young City, its business partners are located throughout the country. Finally, several people stopped in front of a huge mansion. This is my uncle's house, which is the branch of the family. My uncle will be responsible for taking us to our house in a while. Zhuang parked the car and said to Fen Lin. Fen Lin nodded and followed Zhuang out of the car. Zhuang followed Zhu Chuan and Wang Qin. The four of them walked towards the mansion, but as soon as they reached the door, they were stopped by several security guards. What are you doing? One of the strong men asked. Do you know who I am? Wang He is my brother and I am Wang Qin. Wang Qin snorted coldly. In front of the Wang family, it was okay to be humble, but a mere security guard dared to be so arrogant. Oh, it turns out to be Miss Wang. The strong security guard in front said with a smile. Wang Qin raised his face and walked in. Wait a moment, Mr. Wang specifically asked young lady to wait here for now. He has important matters there and will take a while to come. The security guard showed a professional smile. Wang Qin turned around and said to Zhu Chuan and the others, let's go to the car and wait. Zhu Chuan nodded, okay. Fen Lin also smiled, spread his hands and got into the car with Zhuang. Before I knew it, half an hour had passed. There was still no movement there. Fen Lin looked at the time and became a little impatient. It was obvious that they were asking for help, so why were they still superior to others? Sure enough, Wang Qin seemed to be very impatient, so he got out of the car and went there to confirm. Seeing this, Fen Lin also got out of the car and walked over with an indifferent expression. Sorry, Mr. Wang has something urgent, you can't come in now. The security guard blocked Wang Qin's way. Fen Lin walked over and said calmly, security guard, tell your master when you are free. We also have something urgent to do and let's go first. After saying that, Fen Lin took Wang Qin's arm and walked towards his car. Let's go directly to our house. You, big brother, obviously don't take us seriously, Fen Lin said to Wang Qin. Over the years, Zhu Chuan also developed a bad temper on Wang Qin. She nodded. Let's go. When the security guard in the distance saw these people leaving in a car, he immediately took out his mobile phone and made a call. The car of Fen Lin and others had just turned around when the burly security guard from before ran towards the car with his mobile phone. He smiled flatteringly and said, Haha, Mr. Wang invited me. He has already finished his work. Zhu Chuan and Wang Qin had ugly expressions on their faces, which clearly meant that they were waiting here to embarrass themselves. Now that they were leaving, they would have time. The two looked at each other and decided to walk over and take a look. After all, Wang He was Wang Qin's brother. Zhuang and Fen Lin, who were following them, saw them getting out of the car again, so they had to follow them and get off again. Ha ha ha. Sister, I'm sorry, I was talking on the phone with a friend just now. It was very important, so I neglected you. From inside the mansion, a somewhat rich man came out. It is somewhat similar to Wang Qin, and this person is Wang He. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Wando Fanfic Novellas, we cordially invite you to visit our channel. There you will find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 184. This fiancé is from the Wang family. Although Zhu Chuan knew within his heart, the expression on his face was very good. Brother, it's okay. Come in and sit down. Wang He looked at several people and finally settled on Fen Lin. This is Zhang, my fiancée. She is very talented. Fen Lin smiled and said, You're welcome. As he spoke, a young man in a suit walked over from the. He looked at Fen Lin from a distance with a cold expression on his face. This person is Wang Wei. Fen Lin probably guessed why Wang He left them here deliberately. At least it was because he slapped his son. Wang He invited with a smile. Zhu Chuan and Fen Lin looked at each other and walked in together. Wang Qin took Zhu Ruang's hand. Several people walked to the villa in the center of the mansion, and under the leadership of Wang He, they came to the living room. Wang He motioned for everyone to sit down and looked at Fen Lin. I still don't know your name. My name is Fen Lin. Oh, Fen Lin, I sent you the prescription you gave me. My family for identification. Yes, it has a certain effect, but it needs to be taken for a long time. They are very curious about its essence. Wang He sat on the sofa and asked with his legs crossed. My dad obtained this essence from an expert and it has already been used up, Fen Lin said calmly. This was the reason he had thought about for a long time. Because the original essence does not exist, I can't stay here all the time and refine the essence for them. What? Exhausted. What's wrong with this teacher? Wang Hoi asked. During the Chinese New Year, this expert returned to the village to visit his relatives, but could not find them, Fen Lin explained with a smile. Wang Hoi's face became more and more ugly. Fen Lin, do you mean that our Wang family can't use recipes to make money? Sorry, it can't be used. Fen Lin shook his head. How presumptuous. If that's the case, why didn't you tell me before? Wang Hoi slammed his hand on the sofa. I have already explained it to my family. Leave the matter to me. What can you do to me? I told Ying and the others at the time. I told them to come see me. I thought they had asked me to come today to discuss this matter, but I didn't expect them to agree in advance. Fen Lin had an innocent expression on his face. Wang Qin. What do you think we should do about this matter? I already told my mother. I think you should understand what will happen to our mother if this matter is not completed. Wang Hoi shouted angrily. What can I do? Who asked you to accept so quickly? Wang Qin did not expect things to develop like this. Dad, I think we can make it up to him. Wang Weiwei, who was standing at the door, walked in and said with a smile. Look at my sister's appearance, it can change drastically. After Wang Weiwei's reminder, Wang Hoi's eyes suddenly lit up. I remember when I was a child, Zhu Wang was a tomboy with short hair and it was impossible to tell that she was a beauty. After that, Wang Qin broke up with his family and they never saw each other again. Unexpectedly, Zhu Wang now has such beauty that she is even more beautiful than the little princess of the Wang family, Wang Linger. In any case, Zhu Wang can be considered to have the blood of the Wang family and can be used for marriage. In this case, the exchange for something is incommensurable. Not bad. Wang Hoi touched his chin and nodded. Sister, Xiaowen is not married yet anyway. Let's cancel Fen Lin's marriage. I will find a better one for her. Zhu Wang originally planned to sit here and say, wait until I finish without saying anything. But he didn't expect Wang Yi to operate on Fen Lin. She couldn't stand this. Zhu Wang shouted angrily, Fen Lin and I are already married. You can divorce after you get married. Maybe if you can't be a real wife, I can send you to a hidden family as a concubine. Wang Hoi touched his chin and looked at Zhu Wang. This kind of appearance, maybe those people are still rushing to get it. Wang Weiwei also showed a disdainful smile. This Fen Lin dared to slap himself. After driving him out, show him a lesson. Fen Lin, let's go. Zhu Wang pulled Fen Lin angrily and walked out. Zhu Wang, I am doing this for your own good. Do you know how many benefits there are to marrying into a hidden family, or even a sect? Wang Hoi asked seriously. I don't know. Zhu Wang pulled Fen Lin and walked out. Stop them. Wang Hoi waved his hand gently. Several men in suits suddenly appeared and stood in front of them. At this moment, a laughing voice came from a distance. Uncle, what's going on? They immediately got up and walked out. A slender young man, about 27 or 80 years old, came from afar. Zhao Kai, why are you here? Wang Hoi immediately came out to greet him. Brother, Wang Weiwei also shouted excitedly. Wang Kai, direct heir of the Wang family. His father is the son of Mr. Wang's first wife and the next standard head of the Wang family. Not only that, Wang Kai is also a genius. He became an ancient early warrior and mastered Qi. He is now a Namjin level master. However, in comparison, his sister Wang Linger was even more talented. Third grandma asked me to ask about medicine. All the old ladies in the family want to repair the wrinkles on their faces. Wang Kai walked over and said with a smile. When Wang Hoi heard this, his expression suddenly changed and he didn't know what to do. There is nothing you can do with that medicine. The essence was obtained by an expert from our village. He has a strange temperament and only returns to the village during the Chinese New Year. Fen Lin stepped forward and explained calmly. Really? It seems like some family members are going to be sad. Wang Kai looked helpless. However, I once asked how to make essence. Fen Lin put his hands in his trouser pockets and said calmly. In fact, this was what he had thought about before, but just now Wang Hoi was so disgusting that before Fen Lin could say anything, Zhu Wang pulled him out. Oh. Do you know how to make essence? Wang Kai said in shock. Behind him, Wang Duwei, Zhu Chuan and others were inconceivable. I know, I asked that expert grandfather when I was a child, and he seemed to say that to extract the essence, you have to go to some spiritual orifice to do it. This was Fen Lin's plan before he came. Divine Aperture. Divine Aperture Realm. Wang Kai exclaimed. Yes, it seems to be this, Fen Lin nodded. Wang Kai was very solemn. The man in front of him actually knew a master in the Divine Orifice Realm. If the Wang family could have such a master, they would definitely be different from what they used to be and soar into the sky. Brother, wait a minute, I'll call home. Wai Kai picked up the phone and walked towards the grass in the distance. At this moment, Fen Lin's phone vibrated and he thought that the other party had called his cell phone. After taking it out and looking at it, I realized that it was Lanny. Then he also answered the phone and stood aside. What's wrong? Didn't you ask me to investigate a woman before? I already investigated it, Lan said. Really? Then send it. Fen Lin smiled and nodded. In this case, I could happily break off the engagement. Fen Lin especially looked at the Lan woman he was looking for. The figure is the same as Xiao King, flat, so this kind of person will not be considered. Okay. Lan hung up the phone after saying that. The next moment, a message arrived from his side. Fen Lin opened it and the more he looked at it, the more something was wrong. Suddenly, his eyes widened. Jiangbayang City, the Wai family, a hidden family, Weilinger. Chapter 185 Weilinger. Fen Lin squatted on the ground, flipping through the other party's detailed information. 22 years old, the little princess of the Wai family. A genius who became an ancient warrior at the age of 8 and mastered Qi. Since he never leaves home, his current cultivation level is unknown. Probably not, Fen Lin put away the phone and muttered. There must be a mistake when there are so many people named Wang. Otherwise, it would be really embarrassing. Fen Lin went to see the Wang family to break off the engagement and then told them that he and Zhu Ruan got along well. Where to put the face of the Wang family. Although he denied it, Fen Lin still whispered in Wai King's ear. Andy, is there someone in the Wang family named Weilinger? Linger. Yes, she is Wai Kai's sister. What do you ask? Wai King asked strangely. What the hell? Fen Lin almost spit out blood. His mind was spinning quickly. This kiss. How should I withdraw? Haha. Brother, my father invites you. Wai Kai hung up the phone, walked over from a distance and said. Next. Fen Lin couldn't help but look at Zhu Ruoying. The reason why he was confused was because he was worried about Zhu Ruoying. If it were before, who would still be entangled in this? Just go to the Wang family and call off the engagement. He sighed deeply, maybe he really fell in love with her. Obviously I like nice women. Okay, Fen Lin decided to explain the matter clearly. Anyway, he was not familiar with the Wang family. Great, I went to see my mother. Wai King glanced at Fen Lin slyly, feeling very excited. It was his daughter's poisonous vision, but he didn't expect that there were experts in Fen Lin village. When Wai Kai's father invited Fen Lin, he must have wanted Fen Lin to introduce the expert. Then let's go together. And hasn't come back for a long time. Wai Kai smiled at Wai Kin. This was just a casual chat. He didn't have any feelings for Wai Kin. Okay. Wai Kin and others, led by Wai Kai, headed to the Wai family's house. Wai Kai and Wai Wei looked at each other and finally decided to follow them to see the situation. The main family of the Wai family. Located on a large hill outside the suburbs. But they are different from the wealthy families in Yang City. The wealthy families build very eye-catching villas in the mountains. But here in the mountains the only thing you see are very ordinary houses. If a normal person takes a look at it, 2 words will surely come to mind. Mountain town. This is the so-called hidden family. To outsiders, they seem very ordinary, but they possess extremely powerful power. When we arrived at the mountain village halfway up the mountain, we found that each house here was very big. There is also a garage where you can see many luxury cars. Andy, I want to take Mr. Fen Lin to see my father, so I won't bother you, Wai Kai said with a smile to Wai Kin. Okay, Wai Kin nodded and led Zhu Chuan and Zhu Ruoying to the top of the mountain. Wai Kai led Fen Lin to the huge family courtyard not far away. I haven't introduced myself yet, my name is Wai Kai. On the way, Wai Kai looked at Fen Lin with a smile. My name is Fen Lin. Do you know Fianc? Wai Kai asked. I am it. Fen Lin thought about it carefully and decided to talk to Weilinger about the broken engagement first. I hope to break off the engagement with her and be as happy as one Renxi. This is my house. Wai Kai led Fen Lin to a huge 3-story family courtyard. Brother, you're back. In a corner of the courtyard, there was a thin woman of about 20 years old. She looked sickly and very pale. But even so, he couldn't hide his appearance. Fen Lin recognized this person at a glance. It was indeed his fiancée. His strength has reached the peak of Anjin. In such a low-level reclusive family, having such a character is considered a genius. Weilinger was holding a carrot in one hand and was feeding the little rabbit next to her. She just said hello and didn't say anything else. Back. As soon as Wai Kai finished speaking, a middle-aged man with half-white hair jumped out of the 3-story building. Wearing normal white short-sleeved clothes, he walked over with a smile on his face. "White guy, you can go." Wang Kai nodded towards Fen Lin, turned around and left. "My name is YD. I heard that you know the realm of divine orifices." YD motioned for Fen Lin to sit on the small bench in the courtyard. "I'm not too sure either." Fen Lin shook his head. "How did that expert make the essence you mentioned before?" YD asked calmly. "He pinched it with his hands and pulled it out," Fen Lin explained. "That?" YD's eyes widened in shock. "This was directly using Qi to extract the essence. Can you find it?" "No, he has a strange temperament. He will only return during the Chinese New Year." "All right. Before the Chinese New Year, take me to your village." YD looked serious. "This person is probably a super expert and must find a way to meet him." Fen Lin nodded, believing that after hearing his next words, the other party might not allow him to take him back to the village. "Well, uncle, my name is Fen Lin." Fen Lin reminded him first to see if the other party recognized him. "Well, you can go. I will inform you when the Chinese New Year approaches." YD nodded calmly, turned around and walked into the room. "Are you sure you haven't heard of the name Fen Lin?" Fen Lin once reminded him. His back. "What? Are you famous?" YD stopped. "That's great. In fact, my dad gave me a photo and said that this person's name is Wang Linger and she is my fiancée." Fen Lin found Wang Linger's photo in his pocket and put it on the table. "Now it seems like it should be. You lied to me, you scared me." "Fiancée." Wang Linger, who was feeding rabbits in the distance, immediately turned her head, looked at Fen Lin and left. People nowadays really like to dream. The YD's expression changed and he immediately turned around and grabbed the photo in Fen Lin's hand. "Wait until I get home and scold my dad." Fen Lin put his hands in his pants pockets and suddenly felt this was good, not to mention breaking off the engagement was very easy. It's also a good way to end it directly in joke mode. Fen Lin greeted YD and walked towards the door. YD suddenly shouted, and said expressionlessly, "Although I don't remember the name, I have the impression that my daughter is a fiancé." Wang Linger, who originally thought it was a joke, suddenly widened her eyes. "That's definitely not me. Even if it were me, there's no chance. Zhuang and I love each other very much," Fen Lin explained with a smile. YD's eyes narrowed slightly. He took out his mobile phone and made a call. He didn't forget to look at Fen Lin during the process. "Sit down first and wait for me to make a call." Fen Lin nodded, hoping that it could be resolved peacefully. His name is Fen Lin. And hold Linger's photo. YD, who was next to him, said to his cell phone. "Okay. All right. I'll take him there right away." After hanging up the phone, YD looked at Fen Lin with a solemn expression. "Lin, come with me, you should be Linger's fiancé." After hearing this, Wang Linger in the distance approached without expression. Chapter 186. Isn't it beautiful to be separated in one go? Wang Linger stood in front of Fen Lin, put her hands on her hips and said, "I won't marry you." "It's true. You don't want to get married, I don't want to get married, we got along and broke up, how wonderful it is." Fen Lin nodded vigorously and then looked at YD next to him. "Waiting for your reply. Stop talking nonsense. Follow me." YD grabbed Fen Lin's shoulders and walked out. Wang Linger immediately followed Fen Lin, wanting to see what was going on. Several people followed the mountain path and went up. Along the way, many children from the Wang family greeted YD. "You know, YD will be the head of the Wang family in a short time." Mountain summit. The landscape is beautiful, with large yellow rapeseed flowers dotting the mountain peaks. In the open space next to it, there are several large patios. There are 3 in total. Wang Shan, the elder of the Wang family, asked. He has 3 wives. He and his wife lived in the middle, and the houses on either side were occupied by his other wives. The 3 courtyards are blocked by walls, but in each wall there are circular arches that can pass through each other. Fen Lin, led by YD, arrived at the central courtyard. At the door on the side wall, Zhuang, who was chatting, glanced sideways and saw Fen Lin. "Fen Lin, why are you here?" After Zhuang's reminder, all the people chatting here looked sideways. It was discovered that YD grabbed Fen Lin's arm, followed by an angry Wang Linger. Seeing this, Wang Li almost laughed out loud. This boy, Fen Lin, must have provoked the little princess. I only look for death. Wang Linger is the treasure of the Wang family, let alone people of the same generation as them. Even his father Wang He and even his grandmother must be polite. "Fen Lin, you..." Before Zhuang could finish speaking, an old man walked out of the circular door. He has a long white beard and a bald head, giving him the aura of a Taoist immortal. Wearing a tank suit, his body is a little hunched. Fen Lin looked at this person and was not surprised. Without the realm of resonance, no one deserves to call themselves a hidden family. The old man in front of him was the initial peak of the resonance realm. Zhu Ruang was still a little afraid of this grandfather and originally planned to go there. After seeing it, he could only hide under the arch. "Are you Fen Lin?" Wang Shanwen sat on the stone table in the courtyard and looked at Fen Lin calmly. "Yes, I'm Fen Lin." Fen Lin put his hands in his trouser pockets and nodded. Wang Shanwen looked at Zhu Ruang on the other side of the wall. "What are you looking at?" Zhu Ruang was surprised. He quickly lowered his head and apologized. "Grandpa, I'm sorry." "Because you cannot. Look at it." Fen Lin walked over with a calm expression, pulled Zhu Ruang closer. "It would be better for the Wang family's matter to end this way. I thought I heard the voice from here," and from there came a white-haired woman. Her hair was curly and she looked about 60 years old. "She is Zhu Ruang's grandmother and Wang Qing's mother, Liu Yi." "What's wrong, old man?" "Xiaowang hasn't seen you for so many years and I can't even take a look." Liu Yi walked over with a smile. Just as he appeared, another woman walked out of the nearby building. Her hair is gray and she is wearing a loose blouse. In comparison, is much younger than Liu Yi. This person's name is Zhang Yan and he is Wang Shanwen's legal wife. Fen Lin raised his eyebrows. This Zhang Yan was also an ancient warrior. Powerful sister Liu Yi watched Zhang Yan come out and nodded with a smile. Zhang Yan responded and sat next to Wang Shanwen. "Okay, since some of you haven't spoken, let's start with this junior's Feng." Lin looked at Wang Linger and signaled that she could start. Just as Wang Linger was about to speak, she found Fen Lin holding Zhu Ruang's hand, which made her feel very uncomfortable. She then looked at Fen Lin and said, "Speak first, okay? I'll tell you first. Miss Wang has an engagement with me, but she doesn't want to marry me, right?" Fen Lin looked at Wang Linger and asked, "What?" Zhu Ruang was stunned. Does Fen Lin really have a marriage contract with Wang family? He couldn't choose anyone to marry, but he chose the Wang family. Zhu Chuan, Wang Qing and others on the other side of the yard looked on with big eyes. Who was Fen Lin? We couldn't believe it. This was the little princess of the Wang family. No matter how unlucky you are, you must marry a superpower or a disciple of a powerful sect. How could you marry this boy? That's right, I don't want to. Marry this person of unknown origin. Wang Linger pointed at Fen Lin and said, "Guys, you heard it. Miss Wang doesn't want to marry me. I have young and I don't want to marry her, so wouldn't it be well if we broke up?" Fen Lin put his arm around Zhu Ruang's shoulders and smiled. Zhang Yan refused on the spot. Linger is weak. She was treated by an expert back then and is alive now, but she is not cured. Zhu Ruang looked at Wang Linger. "No." I'm surprised his face was so pale. The expert said that Linger must marry a person with a pure Liang constitution in order to return to normal. He simply met a man who was about the same age as Linger and was handsome. "This man is you," Zhang Yan pointed out. He looked at Fen Lin with steady eyes. Wang Linger is her granddaughter. If it weren't for this miserable body, his future would be limitless. She is still young, and as long as she can recover within a few years, it will not be too late. The young Wang Shanwen is just around the corner. Fen Lin rolled his eyes and at least it was his father who was talking nonsense again. With pure Yang. This woman has a congenital weakness and needs specific, long-term nursing care. Fenka should simply be afraid of trouble. "Honey, I'm waiting for you to speak." Zhang Yan touched Wang Shanwen's shoulder. "Well, that's right. That expert's medical skills are like guards coming down to earth. We are impressed with him. What he said is correct." Wang Shanwen nodded slightly. "Then it's decided, Fen Lin, break up with her and marry into our Wang family." Zhang Yan's voice left no room for objections. Zhu Ruang's face became more and more ugly. She was obviously the first. "Why should you give your man to other women?" "I disagree." Zhu Ruang's voice was stern. "Fen Lin and I have already received the certificate." "Yes, old man, Xiaowen is your granddaughter. You saw it just now. The young couple loves each other." Liu Yi explained from the side, obviously ready to side with Zhu Ruang. "Sister, you just said that she is a granddaughter, but Linger is a biological granddaughter. Can she compare?" Zhang Yan asked with an indifferent expression. "Hey, it's whatever my sister says. I feel uncomfortable separating the young couple with my bare hands." Liu Yi suddenly raised his eyes and suggested with a smile, "Otherwise, let's let Linger and Fen Lin form a temporary couple." Xiaowen will not give up. Nonsense. Zhang Yan slammed his hand on the table, raised his head and reprimanded her. "A man who can be a Linger is already your blessing for 3 lives, and yet do you want me to have more than one woman?" Wang Qing and others, who were secretly watching from a distance, nodded secretly. I used to think that Fen Lin was from a famous family, but it turned out that she simply had a strong physique and knew a miracle doctor. The person involved still hasn't spoken, Fen Lin reminded, looking at the others. I have nothing to do with the Wang family. I make my own decision on who I want to marry. That's right. You and the Wang family have nothing to do with each other. Zhang Yan nodded and looked at Wang Qin, who was watching from a distance. Wang Qin, come here. Wang Qin in the distance trembled and walked towards this side. Trembling, he lowered his head and cried, Mother. You heard what I just said. I can't stop Fen Lin, but I can stop you and tell your daughter not to marry Fen Lin. Zhang Yan is a very important position in the Wang family. Not because she is the main wife. It is because she is an ancient warrior herself and comes from a great family. Chapter 187 Love Me, Are You Afraid? Not to mention Wang Qin, even Wang Qin's mother Liu Yi is afraid of this sister. And Zhang, otherwise, can Fen Lin forget it? Mom. It's not that you don't know about my relationship with Fen Lin. Zhou Wang grabbed Fen Lin's arm and walked out angrily. He still didn't believe that these people would dare to tie up Fen Lin and marry Wang Linger. Stop. Zhang Yan scolded. Zhou Wang secretly bit her teeth and finally stopped. Fen Lin turned around and looked at Wang Linger who was next to him. Don't you have anything to say? Wang Linger just looked at Fen Lin and did not respond immediately. In fact, he envied Fen Lin and Zhou Wang. What woman doesn't want to have a perfect relationship? Are you really not willing to marry me? Wang Linger asked in a low voice. Isn't this nonsense? You're so young. Fen Lin suddenly realized that he had made a mistake and hurriedly explained, I mean age. At first it was nothing, but after Fen Lin's explanation, it became darker and darker. Wang Linger suddenly became angry. I want Fen Lin. He felt itchy with hatred. Don't you think I'm too young? Then I'll let you watch it for the rest of your life and let you miss the most important ones for the rest of your life. Okay. My dear granddaughter, as long as you agree, even if I am tied up, Grandma will tie her up for you. Zhang Yan nodded slightly. It won't taste sweet if you force me to twist it. Aren't you afraid that I will raise women outside in the future? Fen Lin was helpless. This group of people was really crazy. Don't worry, you can't leave Wang's house. Zhang Yan said calmly. I've had enough, Fen Lin, let's go. Zhou Wang grabbed Fen Lin and left without looking back. Zhou Wang, if you dare to leave the Wang family gate today, you will go against the Wang family. Zhang Yan stood up and shouted at Zhou Wang's back. Zhou Wang turned a deaf ear and instead sped up. The two followed the path and went down the mountain. On the way no one stopped. After reaching the foot of the mountain, Zhou Wang breathed a sigh of relief. She shook off Fen Lin's hand and said, those people are so disgusting. He put his hands in his pants pockets and smiled. Shameless. Zhou Wang spit out and opened the car door. Get in the car, let's go back. Fen Lin sat in the passenger seat, holding his chin. Relatively speaking, the Wang family's revenge should be rational. The most they can do is crack down on the businesses and they probably won't kill Zhou Wang. Fen Lin doesn't need to worry so much. Zhou Wang was driving back to Yan City and as he crossed a sidewalk, he saw a middle-aged man. Old man with short hair walking in front of her. She immediately braked and gave way to the pedestrians. Looking at the people passing by, Zhou Wang suddenly fell into deep thought. The sound of the horn in the lane. That brought Zhou Wang back to reality. Only then did he react and start the car. What's wrong with you? You are stunned in the street. Are you afraid? Fen Lin joked with a smile. I remembered. Zhou Wang said suddenly. The middle-aged man on the sidewalk just now hit a barcode on his face. I didn't realize what happened to him. Fen Lin raised his chin and asked with a smile. One of the two people who took your mother had that kind of barcode on his face. Zhou explained, roaring what? The smiling Fen Lin immediately stopped smiling. His head buzzed, and he motioned to Zhou Wang to stop. You know, basically all the cars now have video recordings. He finally found a middle-aged man with short hair. However, due to the angle and the fact that the opponent was still on his side, it was impossible to locate his true appearance. Fen Lin could only start with his clothes. Mobile phone and opened the car door. Shouting, I'm going to look for him. Be careful, Zhou Wang reminded. Fen Lin nodded and immediately returned to the previous sidewalk, walking towards the path where the short-haired man had gone. However, with such a wide road, there were many small roads in the distance, making it impossible to tell where he was going. Fen Lin could only go to the police station for help and ask them to get surveillance. Unknowingly, Fen Lin thought of Liu Nian, who had encountered such a situation when performing tasks. He would always call Liu Nian's number as soon as possible. The other party can quickly hack the surrounding surveillance cameras and recover the videos inside without being discovered. After arriving at the police station, Fen Lin took out his red ID and handed it to the person in charge. The person responsible is a middle-aged man with half-white hair and 2 deep wrinkles on his face. After checking the certificate, he found that it was genuine and immediately greeted Fen Lin in amazement. Many other police officers looked at Fen Lin in shock and began to speak. Who was this person? He is very young, but our boss greets him. He looks so handsome. Could it be that he is a bit shot from above? Probably not. Our country pays attention to seniority, and it is still very young. While a group of people were arguing, Fen Lin handed the photo taken with his mobile phone to the boss here. This is what I was wearing. I walked on the sidewalk of Sunshine Road about 10 minutes ago. Fen Lin had checked it with a map before coming. Alright. According to the time and location provided by Fen Lin, he found the man in a suit. He walked down a street and ended up in a taxi heading to a bar on the outskirts of town. Counting time, it hasn't come out yet. Who hitchhiked? Find someone to take me there. Fen Lin immediately got up and said. Shali, please send this gentleman okay. Fen Lin, led by Shali, arrived at the bar called Hell. Thank you, you can go back. Fen Lin smiled at Shali and walked towards the bar. At this time, it stands to reason that there are not many people. But there were a lot of people in this bar. Fen Lin searched carefully and finally found this middle-aged man with short hair in a booth. The middle-aged man has a square face and a cigarette hanging from his mouth. Sitting next to him is a woman with blonde hair. The two were talking and laughing. Fen Lin walked over and sat across from the two of them and ordered a glass of wine. He looked at the man in front of him and sure enough, he saw a barcode on his left cheek, below his ear. You come. The man opposite patted the woman in front of her to signal her to leave, and then looked at Fen Lin indifferently. Fen Lin was confused, but in a moment, he came to his senses and nodded calmly. Well, I guess it's not too late, right? I just arrived, have you brought anything? An old man held up the things in front of him, took a sip of wine and asked. Fen Lin had no idea what it was, so he could only continue to wonder, of course, where is yours? Don't worry, we are honest people. Come on, let me take a look. The man said with a smile. I'm a very careful person, I want to see first. Fen Lin could only say this, because he didn't even know anything and was just looking at him. Haha, you're quite interesting. Come with me. The middle-aged man stood up and turned towards the back door of the bar. Fen Lin followed the middle-aged man. It seemed like this bar was his own place. Opening the back door, they arrived at a small factory where alcohol was stored. The middle-aged man smiled and walked to the iron door next to him and opened it. Chapter 188 General's Graveyard. Fen Lin's eyes gradually became dull and he looked inside the warehouse. There was a dark red chair with a woman dressed in black sportswear sitting on it. This man was sitting upright in a chair. He was about 25 years old, and he had bangs. His face was as pale as paper. Fen Lin could tell at a glance that she was dead. I didn't understand what the mentality of the person who bought it was if the person was a commodity. Haha, look closely, the makeup on his face is very thick. Fen Lin looked carefully, but she was thinking in her heart whether she should catch him directly and ask him what he was doing. As Fen Lin struggled, the other party's cell phone rang. At least the real buyer may have arrived. At this moment, Fen Lin could no longer wait. He walked forward, grabbed the other person by the collar, dragged him into the room, and closed the door. You're not a buyer. The middle-aged man finally realized. That's right, I was sitting in front of you casually. I didn't expect this to happen. Fen Lin took out his cell phone, put it on silent, and put it on the ground aside. What are you going to do? The middle-aged man asked nervously. I'm very curious, what are you going to do? Fen Lin asked with a smile. My daughter died, and I originally planned to bury her, but someone offered me 500,000 yuan, saying that her son also died and I planned to bury them together. The middle-aged man suppressed the tremor in his heart and explained. Do you think I will believe it? If what you say is true, why is your daughter here? Fen Lin took out a dagger from his body and pointed at the middle-aged man's head. I think I should show my meaning, otherwise you may think that I can't cure you. No. I said, actually I am. As the man spoke, his eyes suddenly became bloodshot, then even my blood let out a scream, and fell to the ground. This turns out to be playing with insects. Fen Lin's eyes were cold and gooksy. Very mysterious. Their fighting methods are different from normal ancient warriors. They are very different and always hide in the dark. I can't say they are all bad people, but they are certainly not good people. Shi and Guxi it had fought several times before and there were many strange things. Fen Lin checked carefully and found a black listening device under the man's neck. This was the cause of his death. I remember that among the worms there's one called a worm that lives and dies together. This is a relatively common type of goo. They are born together and die together. These two goo can sense each other. There should be one inside the man in front of me. When the other party learned that the man was about to betray, he crushed his hand to death. As for the other goo insect on this man's body, it sensed the death of its companion and also exploded and died. You must know that this type of poison is highly poisonous, which is the cause of man's death. Lin picked up the bug and took the cell phone next to him with his other hand. The other party called again. Lin answered the call and entered the bar. When he arrived at the bar, Lin first threw the small insect into the huge speaker next to him. Bum bum bum. At the same time, a person wearing headphones on the other side immediately took them off because his ears were ringing. Lin held his mobile phone and looked around, and finally came across a man wearing a mask and a peak cap. Here we go. Lin took his phone and casually sat down on a nearby chair. I called you just now, but you didn't answer. The man lowered his head and said, "Sorry, the music here is too loud, I wasn't paying attention." Lin imitated the middle-aged man's words before. "Did you bring the things?" "You bought them, you can see for yourself." The young man took out a piece of gold from his body. The copper piece is about the size of the palm of your hand and is densely covered with small words and lines. Lin picked it up and looked at it. It's a map. To be precise, a map of the cemetery. But not all. Lin said calmly, "You are wearing a mask and a hat. Are you sure it is me? Let me ask you a few questions. What is this piece of copper?" "I'm sure it's me. This is an heirloom of our family. There are 4 map fragments at the general's cemetery, and our family only has 1. General." Lin looked a little strange. Does such a legendary thing also have a cemetery? He assumed it must be a rumor, or that someone deliberately covered up the royal cemetery. "Okay, next question, why do you change this?" Lin continued to ask. Of course, the man in front of him was about to speak, but suddenly felt something was wrong and asked strangely, "I found out that something is wrong with you, right? Were you deliberately lying?" "Haha, we are a serious business, this is also to protect customers." Lin paused and smiled. "Okay, to prove that I know, I will remind you that she is a woman." After hearing this, the man nodded vigorously. "It seems that you are really sincere. Don't you have the ability to temporarily make the dead move?" When Lin heard this, his face was covered in frost. What kind of dead man is moving? It seems that the inside of the woman's body is also full of poison. I was playing with a girl a day before yesterday. When she refused, he jumped off the building and fell dead. I just wanted to ask you to do yourself a favor and let her hang out on the street again to remove my suspicions. The man chuckled. "That's why I stole my family's heirloom from you. It seems like he's a real person. Wait a minute, I'll notify you." Lin got up, called the police and asked them to come. As for him, he went to the place where he was just now and used a dagger to open the wrist of the female corpse. What came out was a very dark color, which looked like ink. Sure enough, someone was cultivating poison in this woman's body. Lin's left eye suddenly flashed with light, and his left hand was in front of the corpse. Instantly, the skin of this female corpse was lifeless. After getting rid of the poison in her body, Lin returned to the bar. After a while, people from the police station surrounded the place. The young man in front of him lowered the brim of his hat. He lowered his head and said, "I still have something to do, so I'll leave first." "You can't leave." Lin stood up and grabbed his arm, looking at him coldly. Several people in the distance saw Lin's figure. They immediately arrested the man. The head of the Yang City Police Department followed Lin the entire time. This kind of big shot is definitely a big case. Lin led many police officers to the warehouse room at the back. Everyone found 2 bodies here. A young police officer behind him pointed to the woman sitting on the chair and exclaimed in surprise, "Captain Wang, isn't this the daughter that the uncle who called the police mentioned before? It's so abominable, this scum." Captain Wang was furious and punchy at the door. This woman's death has nothing to do with the people on the ground. It is because of the man she just asked to arrest. Lin paused, pointed to the man on the ground and said, "All the roots of this person in the past month will be sent to me later. By phone." He needed to investigate, if Zhu Roy remembered correctly. His mother's disappearance was related to these goo cultivators. Chapter 189 Playing with Insects. "Okay, sir," Captain Wang looked solemn and immediately ordered. Before Lin left, he used his mobile phone to take a photo of the barcode on the man's face. He sent this information to Lanny and asked him to help him investigate. Goo cultivators are very mysterious people and almost never appear upright. Lin didn't have much contact with them. Team White took the body here, and Fen Lin hid in the crowd, followed the flow of people here, and followed him out. He took out the brass piece and carefully observed the pattern. Perhaps there could be a treasure inside. When he reached the end of the street, Fen Lin called Zhu Ruang and told her his current location. After a while, Zhu Ruang's Mercedes-Benz stopped in front of Fen Lin. Fen Lin opened the passenger door and got in. "You found it?" Zhu Ruang started the car, looked at Fen Lin and asked. "I found it." Fen Lin nodded, now waiting for news from Lanny. "Then can we go back now?" Zhu Ruang suddenly asked. Since that person appeared here, maybe Fen Lin's mother is here. Fen Lin held his chin and thought. After a long time, he smiled and said, "I won't go back for the time being." "Well, if you need my help, just ask." Zhu Ruang parked the car on the side of the road and smiled at Fen Lin. Fen Lin looked at Zhu Ruang's spring smile and couldn't help but remember the first time they met. His personality has changed a lot. "Eat this." Fen Lin took out the fire lotus seeds from his body and handed them to Zhu Ruang. "What is this?" Zhu Ruang looked at the dark red fire lotus seeds and asked strangely. "Just now in the Wei family, you must have heard that I know a miracle doctor, right?" Fen Lin explained casually. "My old man is that miracle doctor's apprentice, I'll tell you." "Don't let me know." "I wonder if your father's medical skills are that strong." Zhu Ruang swallowed the fire lotus seeds directly, and then asked, "What kind of medicine is this?" "I asked your master for this. He said it can strengthen the body." Fen Lin opened the car door and said as Zhu Ruang said, "Remember to exercise every day, don't worry." Zhu Ruang nodded towards Fen Lin and left alone. Fen Lin put his hands in his pants pockets and walked down the street. The microphone device now had a range of 5,000 meters. This proves that the instigator behind the middle-aged man with a bark is in Yang City. As he wandered down the street, Fen Lin's cell phone rang. The person who called was Lin Feng, the head of the police station here. "Sir, our videos have been sorted and we will send them to you immediately." The young man's identity has also been confirmed. He is from the Wei family. A member of the Wei family. "Who is it?" Fen Lin asked in a deep voice. "To be precise, he is a branch of the Wei family, that is, the grandson of Wei Shaoman's second wife, whose name is Wei Jin," Wei Peng explained respectfully to Fen Lin. "Understood, send the video first, this matter is more important." After Fen Lin finished speaking, he hung up the phone. At this time, Wei Peng's wording was very precise, that is, the second woman Wei Shan asked about, and he did not say second wife. Because their Wei family is the most trashy among the hidden families. The laws of the country clearly stipulate that you can only have one wife. Therefore, nominally speaking, Wei Qing's mother Liu Yi and the second woman can only be considered lovers. But their identity has been made public. To put it harshly, it is support, but this support is for life. Fen Lin squatted on the side of the road, reviewed the sent video, and fast-forwarded it 3 times. He discovered that the middle-aged man from before was heading towards a residential building. But he didn't live there. Fen Lin checked the location carefully and immediately took a taxi and ran there, hoping that the other party had not escaped. After a few minutes of travel, Fen Lin arrived at this residential building in Yang City. There is no elevator and there are only 6 floors. Fen Lin put his hands in his trouser pockets, casually walked downstairs, closed his eyes and searched carefully. There was no key fluctuation. Did I guess wrong? Fen Lin muttered in his heart. Since he can use Gu, the opponent definitely dominates Qi. Qi is the origin, the fighting methods may be different, but the driving force is the same. Maybe he ran away. Fen Lin thought of this and was about to leave. Suddenly, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and it turned out that he didn't escape, he just came out. He felt an aura of ultimate dark power approaching here. Fen Lin pretended to be a passerby and walked out leisurely, but saw Wang Linger sneaking over his head. "It's your grandmother's," Fen Lin cursed secretly, thinking it was these insect guys. When Wang Linger realized that Fen Lin had seen her, she simply stopped hiding and walked out arrogantly. This can't be a coincidence, right? Fen Lin looked at her expressionlessly. "It's just a coincidence," Wang Linger said with her hands on her hips. Just now he was buying food for the rabbits he was feeding, but he saw Fen Lin entering the family building. So he secretly followed him to see what Fen Lin was doing here. "Can you stop being on your hips? It makes you look smaller." There was no one else here, and Fen Lin had no intention of letting her go. "Do you think I'll beat you?" Wang Linger gritted her teeth angrily, a blush appearing on her pale face. At this moment, Fen Lin's expression changed. The state of transformation. He deliberately took 2 steps outside and watched in the distance as a middle-aged man walked towards here with a package of beef noodles. This middle-aged man was wearing normal casual clothes and his body was very thin. Especially the face, the eyes are deep and look like a skeleton. What are you doing? Did I say something wrong? Fen Lin deliberately raised his voice and pretended to be arguing with Wang Linger. He pretended to approach the man there. You think I'm joking? Wang Linger immediately rushed towards Fen Lin. When Fen Lin saw this, he immediately turned around and ran away, and by chance ran into the middle-aged man. Wow! Fen Lin spilled the beef noodles the middle-aged man was carrying. Shit. Brother, I'm sorry. Fen Lin raised his head and saw a barcode on the other person's neck below his ears. The middle-aged man didn't say anything and just looked at his bag. Brother, how much is this? I'll pay you. No, I'll buy it back for you. Fen Lin seemed to apologize. There's no need. The middle-aged man threw the bag into the trash and walked towards his residential building. No. It's my fault. Fen Lin followed him and took out 100 yuan from his body with a smile. I said no. The middle-aged man looked at Fen Lin with gloomy eyes. Ha ha ha. Okay then. Fen Lin looked at the other person's back and put the money in his pocket. HMPH. Are they scolding you? Wang Linger walked over, stuck out her tongue at Fen Lin, and made a face. Fen Lin did not say anything and continued to look at the middle-aged man's back. After thinking for a moment, he moved forward again and reached out to grab the other person's shoulder. Out. The middle-aged man suddenly turned and threw his hand towards Fen Lin. Fen Lin dodged it easily, but the next moment he saw Wang Linger behind him. He said sharply, "Get away." That. Wang Linger did not react at first. After Fen Lin reminded him, he realized. A few drops in front of him, a black liquid. She immediately burst out with force and dodged him. Brush. On the wall behind him, a few drops of black appeared, like ink, slowly flowing. Chapter 190 The Secret of the Copper Piece Brush. The next moment, the black ink suddenly turned into black gas and disappeared without a trace. What is this? Wang Linger frowned and asked in confusion. The middle-aged man's eyes suddenly became cold and piercing, and he sneered. It turns out that he is a master. Before he could make a move, Fen Lin had already grabbed Wang Linger's arm. Come on. Guxi relied on all kinds of strange fighting methods. At the same level, ordinary ancient warriors were no match for him. Not to mention, the other party is at the transformation realm, while Wang Linger is only at the peak of dark force. Who are you looking down on? Not only did Wang Linger not flee, she even shook off Fen Lin's hand and took the initiative to attack the middle-aged man. Fen Lin sat helplessly and could only stop and watch the battle here. HMPH. The middle-aged man suddenly extended his fist and punched Wang Linger. Wang Linger faced him and hit him in the same way. Boom. As soon as their fists came into contact, Wang Linger felt a powerful force impacting her body. But this is not the end. The middle-aged man's fist suddenly turned into a palm and grabbed Wang Linger's pink fist. Duh. Black smoke came out of his palm. Wang Linger felt as if something was trying to penetrate her body and the pain penetrated deep into her bones. Wang Linger screamed in pain and shed tears. When Fen Lin saw this, he immediately took out the dagger from his body and slashed the opponent's arm forcefully. When the middle-aged man saw this, he kicked Wang Linger in the stomach. Wang Linger's body flew upside down and hit the wall in the distance with a bang. A mouthful of blood spurted out. At this time, the skin on his fist was ulcerated and a burnt black color could still be seen. You won. Wang Linger's right wrist. Then, Fen Lin grabbed Wang Linger's arm. Ah. Hurts. It's so hot. Ooh. Wang Linger felt as if her arms were burning. At that moment, a black liquid began to flow from the fist wound on the back of her hand. After the black liquid drained away, blood followed. Then, Fen Lin let go of his hand, took out the 2 silver needles and put them back on the belt. Awesome. The middle-aged man's eyes gradually narrowed and he stepped back nervously. But player, you are ruthless. You want his life. A layer of frost appeared on Fen Lin's face. If he hadn't been here, Wang Linger would have said that he was here when the worm entered her heart. It has nothing to do with playing with insects. In the dark force realm, if I act recklessly in front of the transformed form, even if I am an ordinary ancient warrior, I can still kill it with a single blow. The old man spread his hands with a smile on his face. Who are you? For us. Good cultivator, you seem to know a lot. Wang Linger, who was still sitting on the ground crying, wiped away her tears. Her face turned pale in surprise. The middle-aged man in front of him turned out to be at the realm. However, what exactly did Fen Lin do at this moment? He originally felt like something had gotten into his arm. But after some tricks from Fen Lin, now all that was left was the pain. In my fist. Do you know the difference now? Let's go quickly. Fen Lin looked at Wang Linger. Wang Linger wiped her tears and stood up from the ground. She looked at Fen Lin and asked, "What will you do if I leave?" She remembered what her grandparents had said before, that Fen Lin knew a miracle doctor. Maybe I can learn something from the hands of that miracle doctor. But medical skills can't fight. You can't save your own life, but you still want to take care of me. Seeing that your legs are shaking with fear, why don't you run away while this old man is interested in me? Fen Lin smiled lightly. Fen Lin. I won't leave. Wang Ling wiped away her tears and bit her lips. I'm not a coward. Oh, I'm not. The middle-aged man saw that all of Fen Lin's eyes were on Wang Ling and ran away immediately. He is a cautious person, but this woman is already at the peak of her strength. Secret is only a hair away from him. Judging from the young man's calm expression, it was obvious that he had surpassed in Jin. Together with the heart-devouring Gu, he was unable to eliminate him easily, which showed. Whoa. Fen Lin, I'm not afraid of him. I was just careless. Wang Ling wiped her tears and when she raised her head and looked, she was dumbfounded. Where did they go? Fen Lin. Wang Ling was shocked. Could it be that he took Fen Lin away? Behind this family building is a small orchard. The middle-aged man thought he had escaped, but he found Fen Lin waiting here. It seems that I won't be able to escape today. The middle-aged man said heavily. There is still a chance. As long as you answer my questions, I will let you go. As Fen Lin spoke, he took out a piece of brass from his pocket. Seeing this, the middle-aged man's expression suddenly changed. So the person from before was you. That's right, Fen Lin nodded. I remember the people from the police station came shortly after. Could it be that you are from the Secret Legion? You're right. As a righteous man, I will do what I tell you. Fen Lin carried the copper sheet again. He put it in his pocket and said, as long as you tell me the reason, I will let you go. Even if I really say it, you don't know if it's true or not. When I tell you everything, you can use the reason why I told lies to kill me. Who should I talk to reason with you? The middle-aged man looked around and originally wanted to take a hostage, but no one else passed by. Then you die. Don't waste our time. Fen Lin walked towards the man. I said it. The middle-aged man continued to look at Fen Lin's eyes and realized that he was not joking. Hurry up. I'm in a hurry. Fen Lin looked impatient. I'm from the Huaquan organization, the middle-aged man said calmly. It's still a big organization. Fen Lin raised his eyebrows. The Huaquan organization in the Miao territory was so deep-rooted that it could be shaken. They are very cunning and spend a lot of money to bribe the nearby villagers. As long as there's any problem, they will hide in the dark. But I am just a pawn. My name is Lin Feng. What is the barcode on your neck? Fen Lin asked, pointing to his neck. This is not a barcode, it is an ID, the ID card of our Huaquan organization. The middle-aged man touched his neck. This is not a pattern, it is poison. What poison? Fen Lin asked. This is the level of Gu cultivated by our Huaquan organization. To understand it simply, when I meet someone with a lower level than me, the Gu on my neck will relax. When I meet someone with a higher level, I will be nervous and tremble slightly. There is also this kind of Gu operation. Fen Lin's eyes were full of surprise. In this case, it would be basically impossible for ordinary people to sneak in. People who have never met him can also judge whether the other person is a superior or subordinate based on the status of the Gu insect. This type of poison feeds on blood, so it implants itself in the blood vessels of the neck. It is very easy to feed. You only consume 1 or 2 drops in a few days. It is harmless to the human body. Ken pointed to his neck and explained. You haven't told me what this piece of copper is yet, Fen Lin asked. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novellas, we cordially invite you to visit our channel. There you will find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 191 The Witch of the Underworld. Miao Ken sat helplessly, sat on the ground and told Fen Lin everything he knew. It turns out that the Huaquan organization was almost destroyed due to internal fighting. As for the map of the General's cemetery, it was also scattered. Now the organization of the underworld has been restored, and under the leadership of the new Lord of the Underworld, it is gradually regaining its vitality. The people above scattered the members of the Huaquan organization everywhere, searching for the lost map. What's in the cemetery? Fen Lin asked. That is the graveyard of our first founder of Huaquan. I heard that he possesses the legendary immortality Gu, Miao Ken replied. Gu immortal. Then why did your first generation die? Fen Lin didn't believe it and asked with a smile. I don't know about this. I put a lot of effort into research and found out that one of the fragments belongs to the Wang family. I originally planned to. Miao Ken sighed slightly. It took a long time for him to separate from the Wang family. Wang Jin is mixed and cooked. Unexpectedly, he stole it. Fen Lin already had a gentle understanding and asked with a smile, "Why don't you ask the people above for help? The current Lord of Huangquan is very generous. If I inform the people above will take away 100% of my credit." Miao Kan clearly saw that if he could complete this task, he would obtain a powerful goo insect. You can be on equal footing with your current boss. Next question, do you know Yongzhu? This is the name of Fen Lin's mother. After her surname, she is called Yongzhu. The only memory he has of his mother now is her name, and he doesn't even remember what she looked like. I don't know, I have never heard of this name. Miao Kan shook his head. About 17 or 18 years ago, two people took her away. One of them with the barcode with you. Fen Lin pointed to Miao Kan's neck. 17 or 8 years ago. That was when we were fighting each other in Huangquan. I was still a soldier at that time, so I really didn't know. Miao Kan shook his head decisively. Fen Lin said helplessly, if this group of people hurt his mother, he must destroy Huangquan. Where is the location of the Huangquan organization? In other words, how can I find the head of Huangquan? Fen Lin raised a finger. This is the last question. As long as you tell me, I will let you go. We are here. It is impossible for people of this kind to see the Lord of the Underworld with their own eyes, but as mentioned before, as long as we can find the fragments, we can directly contact the Witch of the Underworld, Miao Kan said. Okay. Then tell the higher-ups that you found the fragment. Fen Lin smiled and said that today's 3D printing technology is so advanced that it can make an exact copy. Of course, Fen Lin won't copy everything, he will change some places slightly. Are you sure? Miao Kan asked. I'm not interested in you guys playing with insects. My purpose is simply to find the bigwigs of the Huangquan organization. When Fen Lin said this, he suddenly paused. By the way, I didn't show up at first, waiting for the witch to leave. If I stop her again, I won't expose you. Okay. I promise. Miao Kan nodded. All the witches were personally trained by the Lord of the Underworld. They have the best notch insect goo and their strength is unfathomable. The arrogant person in front of him will definitely be killed. After the two exchanged contact information, Fen Lin left here first. He took a taxi and headed to the local police station. Under the personal leadership of Wang Peng, we arrived at a state-backed precision 3D printing company. Piece of copper and handed it to the staff here. He pointed to the dense patterns on it and said with a smile, turn it over a little bit. Okay, this is simple. Wang Bureau, I changed the patterns twice and made two different ones. Do you think which one is better? Fen Lin took the copper piece, looked at it carefully, and nodded with a smile. I want both. Thank you. You are welcome. The staff member smiled and shook his head. After receiving the things, Fen Lin said goodbye to Wang Peng, stacked the three fragments and put them in his pocket. In order to distinguish it, he had taken photographs with his mobile phone beforehand. His original plan was to live with Miao Kan these days, but he received a strange phone call. Hello, Fen Lin asked. Fen Lin, are you okay? Wang Linger's anxious voice was heard. Okay, I have successfully escaped. As Fen Lin spoke, a black Highlander stopped in front of him and two strong men in suits came out carrying Fen Lin and took the car. Fen Lin's breathing was not disturbed at all. He said on the phone, I have something else to do here. I will call you later. After saying that, he hung up the phone and put it in his pocket. Were they arresting the wrong person? Fen Lin looked at the people in front of him and did not recognize any of them. Brat, it's you. That's right. The bald man sitting in the passenger seat threw a photo in front of Fen Lin. Fen Lin picked it up and took a look. It was a surveillance photo from when Fen Lin went to the bar. A smile appeared on his face, knowing roughly what was going on. The car took Fen Lin to a large mansion. The car did not stop, but drove straight in and stopped in the middle of the mansion. Boy. Get out of the car. Several people opened the door and pushed Fen Lin out of the car. Here, two people standing, they look a bit alike. The young man has permanent hair and round face. He is about the same age as Fen Lin, about 20 years old, and wears casual designer clothes. The middle-aged man also has a round face, but he has a beard, is wearing a suit, and is sitting in a chair next to him drinking tea. Boy, do you still know me? The round-faced young man sneered again and again. I don't know, who are you? Fen Lin asked, pretending to be confused. I am Wang Jin. Wang Jin roared. He had been caught before and immediately called his father. There are still doubts in the current case and there's not enough evidence, so he was released on bail. After thinking about it carefully, he realized that it was this boy who had fallen for Fen Lin's trick and called the police. I don't know him. Do we know each other? Fen Lin asked. You don't know me, but I know you. Give me the copper piece immediately. Otherwise, I will bury you. Wei Jin pointed at Fen Lin and shouted. He had received the news from his grandmother. Wei Shanwen discovered that the copper piece was missing and tried his best to search for it. Now that the news about the dead woman is spread, naturally the copper pieces will have to be removed. Copper piece. I met an old man when I left the bar. He said it was an antique and took the 500 yuan, so I gave it to him. Fen Lin said with a smile. What? You sold it? Damn. Do you know what that is? Wei Jin was so angry that he almost went crazy. He roared. Brat. I will kill you. Wei Senator remained silent next to him. Get up and walk here, son. Remember one thing, if your grandfather asks you, you will refuse to admit it. Dad. What should I do with this child? Wei Jin pointed at Fen Lin and shouted. Let him disappear without anyone noticing. Wei Sen's eyes were a little cold. Chapter 192 Who Dares to Act? Fen Lin couldn't help but laugh out loud. He was quite crazy distinguishing between divisions. He seems very skilled, which is probably why he does a lot of bad things. Fen Lin thought of the deceased before. His eyes were cold and piercing. This Wei Jin should pay with his life. Brat, this is what will happen if you provoke me. Wei Jin said angrily. In fact, even if it weren't for the copper piece, he wouldn't have let Feng Lin go. Originally, the matter with that woman could have ended happily, but this guy called the police. As a result, he was charged with murder and should not be forgiven. You are about to die. Do you still dare to laugh? Wei Jin pointed to the pit in the distance and said with a smile. You bastard, kneel down and call me grandpa a few times, and I will throw it directly. To save you the pain. Otherwise, you understand. It seems that you have killed a lot of people, Fen Lin asked coldly. Not much, Wei Jin said pitifully. If you don't want to do it, come here and break this kid's legs first. Haha, you deserve to die. Fen Lin put his hand in his mouth bag. Done. Do it quickly. You're going to die. As soon as Wei Jin cursed, his eyes widened. Fen Lin actually took out a gun from his pocket. The few people who were originally ready to take action were stunned when they saw this. Wei Senator next to him was stunned and said in a deep voice, Are you a police officer? Wei Jin was also a little dumbfounded. No wonder this kid knew what he was going to do. It turned out that they had already controlled it. The person who interacted with him. So, do you still want me to kneel now? Fen Lin asked with a smile. Haha, it doesn't matter whether you kneel or not, but you dare to attack me. You must know who my grandfather is. If you attack me without permission without being found guilty, you will definitely die. Wei Jin crossed his arms. He said with a look of disdain. Fen Lin raised his gun and pulled the trigger without hesitation. Boom. Blood splattered everywhere. Wei Jin lowered his head in disbelief, looked at the pop. His body staggered and fell to the ground, clutching his legs and howling. He couldn't believe that Fen Lin actually dared to act. Wei Sen's eyes widened in horror, and then a sinister arrogance flashed across his face. Do it. Kill him. In the distance, a middle-aged man in a suit suddenly waved his hand. 2 flying knives flew out of his hands. Fen Lin easily dodged the flying knife and pulled the trigger again. Boom. This shot hit the opponent's knee. This middle-aged man has just entered dungeon and can't dodge the bullets. He groaned and knelt on one knee. All this happened in a flash. When Wei Jin reacted, Fen Lin's gun aimed at his head again. Seeing this scene, Wei Jin was so scared that his body trembled. His face turned red and he roared angrily. Spare my life. Boy, you have to think clearly. If you kill my son, you will die too. Think about your family. Wei Senator did not expect things to develop like this, but he was not worried. A little policeman can't defeat the Wei family. Do you still dare to do ideological work for your grandfather? Fen Lin walked over, pointed at Wei Jin's head and looked at Wei Senator next to him. Kneel down and call me grandpa. You, boy, you have been offended. Wei family, do you know the consequences? Wei Senator roared. Wei Jin, right. It seems that your father doesn't love you. Fen Lin put the barrel of the gun against Wei Jin's head. Wei Jin was so scared that he cried bitterly and his body trembled. Don't do anything, stop. I kneel. Wei Senator knelt down with a grim expression. Fen Lin's eyes looked into the distance. Wow. A black shadow quickly flew towards Fen Lin. Fen Lin put away his firearm and raised the corners of his mouth. Felt this aura at this moment. After a moment, an old man in a robe stood on the grass not far away. Mr. Keon. Wei Senator looked at the old man in front of him with surprise on his face. his mother's bodyguard and has the realm of transformation. If he appeared, his mother should also be here. Sure enough, a black BMW necklace around her neck and a gorgeous dress. This person is Wei Shanwen's second wife, Huangji. Save me. Wei Jin wailed miserably when he saw the old woman in front of him. Huangji's eyes suddenly turned cold. He looked at his grandson's blood and shouted, "Old Qian! Kill him!" Yes. Mr. Qian looked at Feng Lin expressionlessly and walked towards him step by step. When Wei Jin saw this, he laughed arrogantly. "Are you laughing so much? Have you forgotten that you are still a hostage?" Feng Lin slapped Wei Jin on the face and then put a dagger in front of his neck. Wei Jin, who was still laughing at first, was stunned. He was so excited at that moment that forgot about it. When Mr. Qian saw this, he stopped and looked at Huangji. "Boy, who are you? Do you dare to touch our Wei family members?" Huangji motioned for Mr. Qian to stop and looked coldly at Feng Lin. Just as Feng Lin was about to speak, he found his cell phone ringing, making him took out and looked at it. It was Wei Linger's number. "Wait a minute. I'll answer the phone," Feng Lin said to several people, then turned around with a dagger. Seeing this, Mr. Qian suddenly stepped forward with one foot, ran out, grabbed Wei Jin by the shoulders, and he dragged him towards Huangji. Seeing this, Wei Senator immediately got up from the ground and rushed towards Huangji. "Ha ha ha. Silly beep. Kill him. Kill him quickly." Wei Jin found out that he was saved like this, and immediately pointed at Feng Lin and shouted, "Feng Lin, I see you haven't called yet. Are you in trouble?" Wei Linger said nervously on the phone. "No, well, I found a little problem. I was captured by Wei Jin." Feng Lin suddenly felt that if he wanted to kill Wei Jin, at least other members of the Wei family should know the reason. It would be too cheap to kill him yourself. Grandpa and I will be at Wei Jin's house soon. At this point, Wei Linger hung up the phone. "What are you doing standing? You haven't taken action yet." Huangji looked at Mr. Qian. "Yes. The reason why Mr. Qian didn't take action at this time was because of his identity. After all, he was a teacher in the realm of transformation, and it was a shame to his reputation to attack a young man while he was talking on the phone." Just as he was about to act, he stopped again and looked outside the mansion. Several cars entered. The Wei family got out of the car and watched. Not only Wei Shanwen and Shang Yan came, Wei Di and Wei Linger besides them, Liu also arrived, and Sichuan and Wei Qin accompanied them. Huangji's voice trembled. "The fragments were lost. I noticed that you were the only one who was nervous, so I came to take a look," Wei Shan asked in a very cold tone. "What are you doing?" "Old man, look Wei Jin, it was this kid who hurt him." Huangji immediately looked at Mr. Qian, pointed at Feng Lin and shouted, "Do it. Kill this child. Who dares to do it?" Wei Linger found that they were going to kill Feng Lin and immediately ran and screamed. Chapter 193 will disappear forever. Mr. Qian discovered that the little princess of the Wei family had spoken and stopped immediately. Feng Lin looked at Wei Linger who was running towards him, a bandage on her right hand. At least, Wei Shanwen already knew what happened. Wei Senator and Wei Jin's father and son turned pale when they discovered that Wei Linger actually knew Feng Lin. You know, Feng Lin knew that Wei Jin had stolen the copper piece. If the matter were exposed, it is hard to imagine how angry Wei Shanwen would be. "Do you know who Feng Lin is? He is my fiancé. Do you dare to attack him?" Wei Linger turned her back on Feng Lin, stood in front of him, and scolded Wei Jin and the others. "What? Promised?" Wei Senator, Wei Jin, and his son looked at each other in disbelief. Wei Shan asked if he was old and confused. How could Wei Linger be married to a mere police officer? "Stop talking nonsense." Feng Lin took 2 steps forward expressionlessly, looked at Wei Shan with a smile and asked, "You guys, what are you here for?" Wei Jin's thoughts ran wildly. Feng Lin, because of his identity, he was destined to not be able to kill him. Since his grandfather brought so many people here, he obviously assumed that the theft of the copper pieces was related to them. For now, there is only one way. "Grandpa. It's this kid who stole the copper." Wei Jin pointed at Feng Lin and shouted, "That's him." "It's you." Wei Shanwen walked over and asked Feng Lin. Wei Linger also turned around in surprise. "Wei Jin, it seems that you have the ability to tell the future. How do you know that your grandfather came here this time to look for copper pieces?" Feng Lin found a stone bench, sat on it and asked. Wei Shanwen looked stunned and nodded secretly. Feng Lin was right. After the copper was stolen, he told a few wives around him. Only these 3 people know where their treasure is hidden. Therefore, he needed to see the reactions of several people. Among them, Huangji was the only one who was too nervous. "Yes, my grandmother told me. Wai Jin looked at Wai Ji next to him. Yes, that's what I said. The old man's treasure was stolen. Naturally, I told my children and asked them to help me find it. Wai Ji nodded. I'm not an old fool yet. Fen Lin has been by my side since he appeared on the top of the mountain. How could he steal my treasure? Wai Shanwen snorted coldly and turned his eyes towards Wai Jin. Tell me. What's going on? What happened? Let me tell you. Fen Lin stretched, stood up and walked towards Wai Jin. He made an ordinary woman jump off the building, so he asked a good cultivator for help, hoping to turn the woman into a walking zombie. He broke off the relationship and Guxi made a condition to allow him to steal your treasure. If Fen Lin had said things like that about Guxi before, Wai Shanwen would never believe it. But Wai Linger was the witness this time and believed in her granddaughter. Fen Lin, what happened next? Wai Shanwen looked at Fen Lin. Then he stole it and gave it to the good cultivator. Then, I took the opportunity to steal it. Fen Lin took out the copper piece from his pocket and handed it to Wai Shanwen with a smile. What? Wai Shanwen quickly took the copper piece, carefully observed the lines, and couldn't help but touch it. Ha ha ha. Good. Fen Lin. Well done. Grandpa. I also have to take credit for this. Time. I also fought with a good cultivator. Wai Linger felt that Fen Lin must have stolen something when he sneaked into the family building earlier. Not bad. She is indeed my granddaughter. Wai Shanwen smiled and nodded. Zhu Chuan and Wai King looked at each other and unexpectedly, Fen Lin helped Mr. Wang and did something big. No. I stole the thing, but I gave it to Fen Lin, not Guxi. Anyway, the matter was exposed, so Wai Jin told the truth. Once the thing is found, Wai Shanwen probably won't do anything harsh. Sure enough, you stole it. After Wai Shanwen heard this, his face became gloomy. Wai Jin lowered his head and dared not speak. Fen Lin, weren't you captured by the other party? How did you escape? Wai Linger asked hurriedly. Fen Lin rolled his eyes and could only make up an excuse. I once learned some tricks from the master to curb poison glue insects. Did he let you come? Wai Shanwen was a little confused. Something feels wrong. That's right, he also revealed some news to me. Wai Jin will die. Lin pointed to Wai Jin next to him, then asked the old master to send more experts to protect him. Wai Shanwen looked at Wai Jin. But he didn't say much. Say something, turn around and leave. The numerous Wai family members surrounding him also left. Fen Lin, let's go. Wai Linger grabbed Fen Lin's arm. I don't need it. I have to go to the police station to surrender. That good cultivator is also a sweetheart. I soothed his wound and he gave me this. Fen Lin took out the gown from his pocket and waited after a moment. After all, I just did something I still need to give up. Wai Shanwen just looked back and said nothing. It can only be said that fortunately, the other party gave them a weapon. Otherwise, Fen Lin would not be able to support them. I'll go with you. Wai Linger said with a smile. No, this matter has nothing to do with you. You can go back first. Fen Lin said goodbye to the others and went outside, stopped a taxi and left. Wai Shanwen looked at Wai Di next to him and whispered, follow him and see where he goes. Yeah. Wai Di nodded and drove to follow him. Wai Shanwen always felt that something was wrong. After returning to Wang's house, he immediately went to his study and took out a rubbing. He has had this fragmented mat for more than 10 years and has already caught the patterns on it. After careful observation, his expression suddenly changed. It's fake. Now he finally understood why the other party let Fen Lin return so easily. It turns out that the fragments he stole weren't real. After a while, Wai Di quickly walked over, bowed and said, Dad, I saw Fen Lin enter the police station with my own eyes. Did you just see him come in? Wai Shanwen frowned slightly, always feeling that way. Unusual Fen Lin. I waited a minute and saw Wai Pen walk in with him in person, said Wai Di. Really? Maybe I'm overthinking it. Wai Shanwen looked at the fake fragments in his hand and shook his head slightly. Just throw it away, it wasn't his thing anyway. When he had just obtained it, he was still young and lively, and he wanted to seize the treasure and strengthen the Wai family. Fast forward almost 20 years and he is no longer young and has long been beyond his capabilities. What's more, good cultivators are not that easy to mess with. If they don't hand them over, they may end up harming the Wai family. Fen Lin saw the previous woman's father at the police station. This middle-aged man, an ordinary worker, holds his dead daughter and cries. Fen Lin was also filled with indignation. It turned out that Wai Jin was a scumbag. The woman was forcibly arrested, preferred to die rather than obey, and finally committed suicide by jumping off the building. Sir, Wei Jin has done all kinds of evil and many lives were lost because of him. Wei Peng stood next to Fen Lin, his teeth itching with anger. However, he has a powerful background, but there's no evidence. Every time a scapegoat comes forward and confesses, he gets his way. Don't worry, from today it will disappear forever. Fen Lin took out the red certificate from his pocket. This certificate has a nickname, Murder Certificate. Chapter 194. 7 or 8-year-old witch. Fen Lin bid farewell to Wei Peng and left the police station with a calm expression. He called Miao Kang, who told Fen Lin where he was. He has now moved to a hotel and no longer lives in his previous place. Fen Lin arrived at the hotel where the other party was staying and Miao Kang was waiting at the door. Under the leadership of Miao Kang, Fen Lin went to his room. This is an ordinary standard room. Have you contacted me? Fen Lin asked calmly. Contacted, the Miko is ready to leave and will be here tomorrow. Miao Kang nodded. You goo cultivators usually have corpse-eater goo, right? Fen Lin leaned against the wall and asked with a smile. Yes, all of this is necessary. Miao Kang took out a small bottle from his body, which was as big as his thumb. This type of goo can devour and decompose corpses quickly, and even the bones will disappear. It's the best thing you can do with a corpse. However, they do not dare to devour living beings, so if they fall on a normal person, it will have no effect. You have nothing to do tonight. Come with me to kill someone, Fen Lin said. You don't feel like someone from the Hidden Legion. Miao Kang smiled bitterly. Evening. Wei Sen's mansion. Wei Jin was in his suite, enjoying the maid's massage. So far Wei Shanwen hasn't asked him for anything. Maybe after finding things his anger has subsided. Just now, he and Wei Ji discussed that they could go to Wang's house tomorrow to apologize to Grandpa and that everything should be fine. In the luxurious hall of the villa, Wang Senator and Wei Ji were sitting here. Mom, who was that Fen Lin? I can't swallow this breath. Wang Senator was smoking next to him, his face looked ugly. I didn't know before that he was Wang Linger's fiancé, but neither of them had a single horoscope. They probably wouldn't get married. If you want revenge, stay calm. Wei Ji rubbed his temples. And he exhaled. That's it. Tomorrow I will take Wei Jin to apologize. After all, he is your grandson. Fen Lin and Miao Kang were wearing black robes and hoods, with only a pair of eyes exposed. The two easily reached the living room. Fen Lin moved his finger and a chopstick flew out and entered the chamber above the living room. Who are you? Wei Ji suddenly noticed two men in black robes walking in and shouted loudly. Boom. Mr. Keepan's figure ran from a distance and attacked Fen Lin mercilessly. Lord, this is the realm of transformation. Miao Kang felt a little scared in his heart when he felt the strength of the other party. He has just entered the transformation form, but the old man in front of him is the peak of the initial stage of transformation. Boom. Keepan Lao's fist suddenly stopped in front of Fen Lin, as if there was a thin film blocking the opponent's attack. Mr. Keepan's expression changed drastically before he had time to react. Fen Lin kicked him out. Shout. Mr. Keepan's body was like a flying cannonball hitting the wall in the distance. Miao Kang's pupils suddenly shrank and huge waves surged in his heart. He didn't expect Fen Lin to be so strong. Wei Ji and Wei Senator were dumbfounded. Mr. Keepan is a supermaster of the Wei family and his strength is in the realm of transformation. Simply joining a certain family in Jiangbai can make this family become a rich family. Now someone kicked him out. Who are you? We didn't provoke you, right? Wei Senator asked tremblingly when he saw this. Wei Jin has done a lot of bad things, he deserves to die. Miao Kang stretched out his hand and black smoke appeared in his palm. When he looked carefully, he realized that these were densely packed small flying insects. The small flying insect quickly flew in front of Wei Senator and coiled around his head. Ah! Wei Senator covered his head and rolled on the ground. I'm not Wei Jin, I'm not Wei Jin. So, who are you? Fen Lin let his voice become deeper. I am Wei Jin's father. The bad things he did had nothing to do with me. Forgive me. Wei Senator shouted pleadingly. As for Wei Ji next to him, he was so scared that his blood boiled and he fainted. Be a good person from now on, otherwise you will die miserably. Fen Lin signaled Miao Kang to stop and took him away from here. As for Wei Sen's head, it was covered in blood and lay trembling on the ground. Fen Lin arrived at the room where Wei Jin was and found that he was smiling and touching the maid next to him. Suddenly, he noticed two men in black walking in and suddenly remembered what Fen Lin said before. Before he could speak, Fen Lin moved his finger and a tooth that pierced his eyebrow. He bowed his head and fell on the spot. The maid next to him screamed in fear upon seeing this scene. Fen Lin stepped forward and slapped the woman's neck with one hand, causing her to faint. Dragging Wei Jin's body and throwing him to the ground, Fen Lin looked at Miao Kang. Let's take care of it. Let's finish as soon as possible and return early. Miao Ken nodded, took out the corpse goo from his body and put it on Wang Jin's body. Along with a burst of thick smoke, his body quickly decomposed and disappeared. After a few minutes, only clothes were left here. Let's go, Fen Lin said expressionlessly. Yeah. Miao Ken now had a deeper fear of Fen Lin. He seemed to treat human life like weeds without any mercy. You can never afford to mess with this type of boss. When I meet the witch tomorrow, I don't know who will win. Early the next morning, Wang Shanwen arrived at Wang Sen's mansion and looked at his head full of wounds and most of his hair missing. Dad. It was a good cultivator yesterday. 2 good cultivators came and took my son away. Wang Senator shouted and took Wang Shanwen to his son's room. Nothing has been touched here, especially the clothes lying on the floor, which are still displayed as if they were worn by adults. Wang Shanwen squatted down, looked at the traces of moisture below, and shook his head slightly. He was not captured, but killed. Dad, what should we do? They're slapping you. Wang Senator couldn't believe it. His living son was simply gone. Wang Shanwen didn't speak, his eyes narrowed into a thin line, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Fen Lin handed another fake copper piece to Miao Ken. The place they agreed to meet this time was under the road outside the suburbs of Yang City. Miao Ken was alone in the forest below the road. He looked around carefully and could not find any trace of Fen Lin. He sighed helplessly and could only take one step at a time. Suddenly, the bark on his neck suddenly contracted and he could clearly feel that his neck was throbbing madly, causing his heart to begin to race. This is a multi-level feeling. The witch is here. Your name is Miao Ken, right? A very childish voice came from behind Miao Ken. Miao Ken immediately turned around and found a girl standing in front of him, who seemed to be only 7 or 8 years old. She was wearing a black princess dress and red boots. She has a baby face, long black hair, and a red bow on top of her hair. She looks like a princess from an old European royal family, very pretty. Are you a Miko? Miao Ken couldn't believe it. This was too sensational. It was a photo of a girl who was only 7 or 8 years old and had no hair at all. It turns out to be a Miko. However, the glue on his neck cannot be confused. He immediately knelt on the ground and took out the copper piece from his pocket. The little girl took the copper piece, looked at it carefully, smiled and showed a small tiger tooth, and her childish voice sounded again. Not bad. Good performance. Chapter 195 Whose son are you? A trace of joy flashed across Miao Ken's face, and he raised his head excitedly. I still want to thank the Lord of the Underworld for his protection. You can go. I will inform the owner right now that you are still here. I'll stay in Yangshi. I think I should go back. Kaitioki put the copper piece into her pocket and turned to leave. Miao Ken was ecstatic for a while and was coming back, showing that he wanted to reward himself. It depends on whether Fen Lin can stop her this time. Fen Lin hid on the top of the mountain in the distance, frowning slightly. He had been searching for a while and found that there was no one else around. He silently followed Kaitioki, unable to detect the energy in her body. However, in your opinion, what power can such a child have? There must be someone picking it up somewhere. Fen Lin hesitated for a moment, but decided to follow him, as long as he kept her in sight. If you go with the flow, you might be able to run into a big fish in Huangguan. Kaitioki walked to the top of the mountain and took out her mobile phone to make a call. I sent you the address. You can pick me up now. I'm at the top of the mountain. Kaitioki smiled into the phone. After making the call, he put away his phone and sat on a rock. Fen Lin did not move. He had been waiting, but what he was waiting for was not a teacher, but a helicopter in the sky. Damn, I wasted so much time for nothing. Fen Lin put his hands in his pants pockets and appeared in front of Kaitioki in the blink of an eye. Who are you? Kaitioki stood up and asked in a childish tone. Without saying a word, Fen Lin carried the little lolly on his back and left quickly. His figure passed through the mountain forest and finally stopped at a pond below a small waterfall. He put Kaitioki down and looked at her calmly. What are you going to do? Kaitioki's tender little face was a little solemn. Fen Lin was hugging her very quickly at this moment. He was obviously a teacher. Are you the witch of Huangguan? Fen Lin scratched his head. He didn't know how to deal with such a little girl. As long as she is not a child, or even an adult woman, there will be no psychological pressure from Fen Lin's forced interrogation. But he always felt uncomfortable applying this kind of oppression to a 7 or 8-year-old child. HNPH. That's right. Since you know my identity, why don't you kneel? Kaitioki put her hands on her hips and looked at Fen Lin. Fen Lin put his hand on his forehead and leaned against the big tree, thinking about how to deal with her. Little sister, since Wank One is organizing you, can you tell me where your base camp is? Tell brother that he will let you eat lollipops, Fen Lin said with a smile. Who wants to eat a lollipop? Are you treating me like a brat? Kaikyoki put her hands on her hips and snorted, I want to eat ice cream. Feng Lin walked over with a smile and squatted down. Kaikyoki stood next to her and grabbed her little hand. Okay, I'll take you. Suddenly, Fen Lin's expression suddenly changed and he suddenly retreated. How can it be? Kingdom of Resonance. The light and dark resonance of 7 or 8 years. It is very embarrassing for those who have been practicing hard all their lives and cannot reach the realm of a master. Little sister, since you're a witch, how powerful are you? Fen Lin asked with a smile. HNPH. Of course, I am the master's proudest maiden and have obtained the master's true inheritance. Kaikyoki raised her head, her eyes full of pride. Then how old are you this year? Fen Lin asked. I'm 8 years old, Kaikyoki responded with her fingers, raised her head and looked at Fen Lin. Aren't you going to take me to eat ice cream? Aren't you afraid of that? Am I a bad guy and kidnap you? Fen Lin asked strangely. Humph. The bad guys who dare to attack me will die miserably. Kaikyoki took out her mobile phone from the small pocket on the side of her skirt and took out a small Nokia mobile phone. Hey, I have something to do here. Guys, let's go rest first. After saying that, he put his mobile phone in his pocket and walked towards Fen Lin. Fen Lin didn't know what kind of medicine he sold in the guard, but he didn't believe that he couldn't play with a little girl. Shall we go there now? Fen Lin asked with a smile. Yes, Kaikyoki nodded. The two walked for a while and Kaikyoki suddenly jumped on Fen Lin's back and he hugged Kaikyoki's soft and boneless waist. What are you doing? Asked Fen Lin, who was very sensitive to everything behind him. This is human nature, even ordinary people can notice that someone is watching in from behind at some point. Take me, this place is too bumpy and I don't want to get my shoes dirty, said Kaikyoki. I'd better hug you. I don't like a strong person like you being behind my back. Fen Lin hugged Kaikyoki with one hand and let her both sit on Fen Lin's arm. No, this is uncomfortable. Kaikyoki followed Fen Lin's shoulders and finally rode out Fen Lin's neck. Hey, this is much more comfortable. Little girl, the woman riding on my neck, not much. Fen Lin didn't care, after all, he was a little boy. I once rescued hostages in a dead night and let the girl travel like this. He is a veteran cadre of Shi, obviously the boss, and he often does this kind of work. Exhausting. The second master has weak legs and feet, Samwaki is a girl, and the fourth son is Misophobia. But before, everything was fine and he could leave the dirty work to Lao Yu. If my gu didn't like you, you wouldn't be qualified. Kaikyoki lowered her head and looked at Fen Lin. My name is Kaikyoki. What is your name? Fen Lin. Are you going to our headquarters? Do you want to join us or grab the treasure? Kaikyoki asked strangely. I want to meet your boss and talk about something. Fen Lin quickened his pace and finally reached the suburban road. Luckily for them, they showed up and saw a taxi pulling into town. Fen Lin knocked Kaikyoki down and they sat together in the back row. A few minutes later, the two arrived in a city. After Fen Lin gave the money, he took Kaikyoki shopping and finally found a shop that sold ice cream and bought her one. Yeah, it seems that you are a good person and you didn't lie to me. Kaikyoki took the ice cream and ate half of it in one bite. He exclaimed, it's delicious. Fen Lin stood nearby and looked at him. Come on, you're a complete brat. Who would have thought that this little boy would actually reach the master level? What Fen Lin can be sure of now is that he is definitely not progressing little by little like ordinary people. There must be other shortcuts, otherwise it would be really scary. Fen Lin. Buy me another one. Kaikyoki finished eating in the blink of an eye and took off Fen Lin's clothes. Fen Lin nodded and bought another one for Kaikyoki. At this time, a middle-aged woman with a 7 or 8-year-old child also approached. Grandpa, I want to eat ice cream, the boy pointed to the stall and said. Okay. Grandma will buy it for you. The woman nodded with a smile, squeezed directly in front of Fen Lin, and handed the money to the clerk. Although Fen Lin was a little sad, he still took a step back. Regardless, what the employee earns is now his orders. The boy was idle and bored when he suddenly noticed Kaikyoki next to him. He reached out to grab the bow on Kaikyoki's head. Kaikyoki slapped his hand and said coldly, what are you doing? Wow. Wow. The boy covered his hand and burst into tears. Girl, what's wrong? Seeing this, the middle-aged woman immediately ran to comfort her. Grandma. She hit me. The boy pointed at Kaikyoki. Why are you hitting my grandson? Whose son are you? The middle-aged woman shouted, pointing at Kakiokiao. P.S. Brothers, I have been quite free these days. I will update some more chapters every day. Please support me. Chapter 196. I have fragments too. Fenlin heard the sound and immediately turned around. He found this middle-aged woman pointing at the tip of Kakiokiao's nose and scolding her loudly. He immediately walked over and stood in front of Kakiokiao. He was not worried about Kakiokiao. He was worried about the two people in front of him. You the father and this child. How do you discipline your child? Look, she made my grandson cry. The middle-aged woman noticed Fenlin approaching and screamed at the top of her lungs. He touched me first. Kakiokiao responded, her face becoming increasingly cold. Although Fenlin didn't pay attention before, he knew that Kakiokiao was not lying. It would be abnormal for such a big man to take the initiative to bully a little boy. Whoa! Grandma! The child sat on the ground, hugging the woman's legs, crying loudly. Immediately apologize to my grandson, otherwise we won't be finished. The woman pointed at Fenlin and said. Fenlin saw that the ice cream over there was ready, so he walked over, took the ice cream, and handed it to Kakiokiao. Kakiokiao took the ice cream and although she looked sad, she still ate it. I'm talking to you, apologize immediately. The woman noticed that many people were gathered around her and loudly reminded him. Come and see everyone. This damn girl bullied my grandson and her parents helped her do it and she refused to apologize. Everyone, my girl never bullies others, but this little brat bullied my children first. Fenlin took Kakiokiao and whispered in her ear, cry. I'm not crying. Kakiokiao, what is your identity? If word got out, what would others think of her? I'm full of ice cream. Woo. Woo-doo. Kakiokiao immediately put her head on Fenlin's shoulder and screamed. Hey. Stop crying. It took a lot of effort to convince her. Fenlin helplessly patted Kakiokiao on the back and looked around. Everyone, please comment, how could a child like mine bully others? Shit. Damn Lolita soul. Little fairy, don't cry, this kid must be stalking me. Mata. The bad guys are the first to complain. Your son is so strong, why would someone like that beat him to tears? A pretty girl. He must be pretending. This is it. I know, boy, you bullied my granddaughter yesterday. Suddenly, the people around were pointing at the middle-aged woman and the little child, and verbality criticizing them. Everyone shut up. Do you know who my son is? Believe it or not, I will kill you. These people scolded the middle-aged woman and yelled at them. Wow. You want to kill us? It seems that your son is also a scumbag. This little brat is his, Fenlin sneered in a strange manner. Brat, just wait for me. The middle-aged woman did not have the shame to stay here, so she took the child and quickly ran away. After those people left, many people gathered around. This little girl looks so cute. Many women even took photos with Kakiokiao. In the end, Fenlin hugged Kakiokiao and left. It was better to keep a low profile. Fenlin, where is the ice cream you promised me? Kakiokiao noticed that Fenlin was gone and immediately asked with a bulging mouth. Don't worry, I'll be happy to take you to try something better today. Fenlin was going to a milk tea shop. Compared to ice cream, this kind of thing is more popular among women. Kakiokiao's big eyes suddenly lit up. Is there anything more delicious than ice cream? You don't just know about ice cream, do you? Yes, but the teacher doesn't let me eat this kind of stuff. Kakiokiao speaks in a low voice. Does your master still restrict this? Fenlin asked strangely. Yes. Master is the strictest with me. All the other witches have smartphones and can play games even if they have nothing to do. Only I have a Nokia. Kakiokiao took out her mobile phone and shook it lightly. You are still young and now is the time to grow up. It is for your own good to restrict yourself like this. Fenlin found a milk tea shop in the distance, so he went in with Kakiokiao. As soon as the two sat down, a handsome waiter approached them. She looked at Kakiokiao with a smile. How cute. Small cup, let's take 5 different flavors first. Fenlin smiled at the waiter. Okay, the waiter nodded. Fenlin sat across from Kakiokiao, holding his chin as he thought. Kakiokiao was looking around. She had never been in a store like this before. Girl, will you take me to your headquarters? Fenlin asked. Tell me, what are you going to do first? Kakiokiao looked at Fenlin indifferently. I don't know what I'm going to do. First, I want to ask about a person named Hu Yongzhu. Fenlin looked Kakiokiao in the eyes. Snow the day after tomorrow. I don't know. Kakiokiao shook her head. Fenlin shook his head slightly. It was normal that she didn't know. He had a distinguished status, but he was only 7 or 8 years old. She must not know what happened more than 10 years ago. At this time, the waiter brought several cups of milk tea and placed them in front of Kaikiokiao. "Baby, try," Fen Lin said with a smile. Kaikiokiao looked round just now. He had already learned to drink, took the straw and stabbed it. She just took a sip and suddenly her eyes widened. "This tastes good." Good. In a few breaths, Kaikiokiao finished the glass. "Fen Lin, this is so delicious," Kaikiokiao said excitedly. "Father," Fen Lin said 2 words. He simply saw that this girl was not a bad person. After 5 cups, Kaikiokiao's belly was already stretched. He slapped his belly hard. "Damn, there are still several flavors I haven't tried yet. I really can't drink anymore." "Continue drinking next time," Fen Lin said with a smile. "I don't know if I can go out next time." Kaikiokiao sighed helplessly and left with Fen Lin. "Your underworld is very mysterious. Even I don't know what you are doing in private. Were you considered good people?" Fen Lin suddenly asked. "Of course, we in Huaiquan have taken a lot of blame. First of all, there are not many good cultivators, so many evil good cultivators will use our name in Huaiquan to do evil," Kaikiokiao said viciously. Fen Lin raised his eyebrows, not expecting such a thing to happen. "By the way, those who oppose the teacher are bad people, but relatively speaking, most of us are good people," Kaikiokiao explained. Fen Lin thought for a moment. If this was the case, there was no need to kill him for the time being. "Kiokiao, I also have fragments from the general's graveyard," Fen Lin said with a smile. "What? Real or fake?" Kaikiokiao asked in surprise. "Really, but I won't give it to you. When you return, tell your master that the fragment is in the hands of a man named Fen Lin." Fen Lin took out his mobile phone and exchanged contact information with Kaikiokiao. After that, he took a taxi and took Kaikiokiao to the suburbs. After seeing her off, Fen Lin also prepared to return to Yin City. Currently, he is waiting for the Lord of the Underworld to call him, hoping to find his mother's whereabouts. Cloud City. It was already dusk after Fen Lin arrived here. He first went to the Narcissus Club and reached the top floor. Men Cheng Shen and Yi Dan are playing chess. Yi Shen is busy in front of her laptop. "Sir, I asked Miss Zhu to look for a company site in the past few days. We have already discussed it." Yi Shen smiled at Fen Lin. Fen Lin nodded. "You don't need to notify me, you can decide for yourself." He watched the chess game here for a while and then went to Sikam Jin's room. Sikam Jin is playing in front of the computer. As for Yan Yabai, he was painting by the window. Fen Lin lay on the sofa, chatted with a few people, and found out that there was nothing else to do in the past few days. At this moment, Fen Lin's cell phone rang. He looked at the call alert and saw that it was Zhu Ruang's call. Chapter 197 Liu Nan's phone call. Fen Lin answered the phone and asked with a smile, "What's wrong?" "You have returned. Back. Come to the villa. I have something to discuss with you here," Zhu Ruang said in a deep voice. Fen Lin stretched. It must be the Wang family's business. He bid farewell to the two of them and ran to Zhu Ruang's villa. Sure enough, there was a Porsche parked in front of their villa, and Zhu Chuan and Wang Qing were also here. After Fen Lin entered, he saw a family of 3 sitting here. "What happened?" Fen Lin sat on the sofa and asked calmly. "Fen Lin, Mr. Wang told me to ask my daughter to leave him. They only gave us 3 days. Zhu Chuan lowered his head and clenched his fists. "Hey, I really didn't expect that fate could play tricks on us. Ah. I told you, I'm not interested in Wang Linger." Fen Lin rubbed his temples, blaming that old man for taking the time to scold him. "It's useless. Whether you agree with Wang Linger or not is a matter for later. They just want Hao to break up with you." Zhu Chuan took out a Chinese medicine from his pocket, lit it, and took a few puffs. "Now that our company has enough capital, the most they can do is suppress our business. Our company has the strength and we are not afraid of them." Zhu Ruang gritted her teeth. No one else could take away what she was interested in. Not to mention the man she likes. "Don't worry, leave this matter to me." Fen Lin already had a plan in mind. The Wang family's intention was mainly to treat Wang Linger's illness. In the worst-case scenario, Fen Lin asked the other party to come and give him some time to recover. "Hey, there's nothing we can do now," Wang Qing sighed deeply. He really didn't expect that the man he didn't like at first would be attracted to the Wang family. Zhu Ruang sent off Zhu Chuan and Wang Qin, and also said goodbye to Fen Lin to see the progress of the new company. Their reputation has only recently been established and they must pursue victory. Fen Lin was lying on the sofa, about to order takeout, when he found a call from his father. He immediately answered the call. "Hey. Old man, I've been waiting for you for a few days, why are you calling now? Didn't I tell you before?" I've been busy lately. What's going on? Fen Chen asked there. Very much. First of all, who was this Lu Yao? Fen Lin asked. Lu Yao, your fiancé, Fen Chen replied without thinking. He's not in the photo. This is my new one. You and I are almost destined to be a couple. You have a good figure and good background. You can marry him at home, Fen Chen said. Fen Lin rolled his eyes and continued, I met Wang Linger these days. Wang Linger, he has a good talent. You also know that he is naturally weak. You can marry your house and recover halfway. A year, Fen Chen said. Can't we find a fiancé for me? Now it's causing me problems. You don't know that several fiancés are going to fight, Fen Lin said helplessly. He is a calm person. Fen Chen looked stunned. What the hell? Is it that good? Is it that good? What are you talking about? Think about it, several women are scheming and playing out palace dramas to get my son. I won't watch TV from now on. It's up to you. At this point, Fen Chen suddenly asked, boy, is that enough? I still have a lot of lists here, but after calculations, the horoscopes don't match. Stop. I have something urgent here, you can busy first. Fen Lin immediately hung up the phone and lay down on the sofa to breathe. Who wants to take this kind of father as soon as possible? I was really speechless. At this moment, Fen Lin's cell phone rang again, and he sighed helplessly. What's wrong? Boss, it seems I called you at the wrong time. A woman's voice was heard. It was very familiar, so familiar that it made Fen Lin's nerves tremble. He immediately picked up the phone and checked the number. The incoming call notification was a series of garbled characters. The previous address is also unknown. Reunion. Fen Lin immediately stood up from the sofa and asked in a deep voice, why are you calling me? Of course I miss you. It took me a long time to find out your new number. Reunion's voice was very intellectual. It is very comfortable to listen to. Reunion. I will definitely kill you and avenge you. Fen Lin's voice was cold and chilling. Reunion chuckled. Hey, I just like to see the boss incompetent and furious. If you have the ability to follow the signal, you can beat me. My butt sticks out. I have nothing to say to you. Fen Lin said. After that, I was ready to hang up the phone. What's wrong with the boss's wife? Reunion's voice was a few decibels louder. Hearing this, Fen Lin put the phone to his ear again. 10 seconds after you answered the phone, I found your location, Yun City, the provincial capital of Jiangbai. Reunion said with a smile, the boss's performance at Yi's house was quite outstanding. What the hell are you? What do you want to do? Fen Lin asked. Not many people have been found until now. Yi Shen and Zuoying. I want to exchange the lives of these two people for 2 fire lotus seeds, Reunion said his purpose. Haha, this is embarrassing. We have too many friends and we have to divide them all, Fen Lin said with a smile. I don't care about that. When I catch them and the boss can't eliminate them, I will kill them, Reunion said with a slight smile. Just come. Fen Lin snorted coldly. Boss, you really hurt my heart this time. I've been thinking about this plan for a long time. It was obviously a perfect plan, but you ruined it. After Reunion said this, he paused, but it's normal, no matter what I think, I never thought that the boss would be related to Tongyu. Fen Lin's eyes narrowed slightly and it seemed that Reunion had guessed it too. This time it was to provide comfort to Fen Lin in the same month. Okay, that's all for today. Now that we know the boss's phone number, we will have plenty of time to communicate in the future. After Reunion finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Fen Lin sat on the sofa and did not move for a long time. Since Reunion said so, he would definitely take action. Thinking of this, she sent a message to Yan Yabai. During the current period, she could only temporarily protect Zuoying. Hey, I suddenly felt that it would be good to have a group of subordinates. Fen Lin took out his phone and checked the contacts. I was going to borrow some experts. It will be convenient to use it in the future. All my dead knights are boss-level characters. Used to protect people, it is overqualified and overqualified. At this time, a message from Fen Lin's WeChat came, which was from Zhao Qingqing. Fen Lin, are you busy now? I want to have dinner with you. Fen Lin looked at the time and saw that it was getting late. He didn't have time to eat, so he agreed. Zhao Qingqing told Fen Lin the address and drove there in a rolling Huangwen. Arriving at the designated place, Zhao Qingqing, dressed in a simple dress, jogged a few steps and sat in the passenger seat. Tell me what happens. Fen Lin looked at Zhao Qingqing with a smile. With his character, he definitely wouldn't take the initiative to ask each other if he didn't have something to ask for. Now I have met some distant relatives who are rich in the mountains. My relatives know that I am now the management of a big company and they want me to put someone in the company. Zhao King lowered her head and said, they are far away. The restaurant said they wanted to treat me to dinner. I couldn't bear this, so I thought of you. Fen Lin couldn't help but laugh. Were you going to help? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novellas, we cordially invite you to visit our channel. There you will find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 198. This woman is good. Zhao King shook her head. I didn't plan to help. When my father was sick, I borrowed money from them one by one, but all I got were blank stares and disdain. She felt uncomfortable thinking about this incident. Borrowing money from them is not the most scandalous thing. The most scandalous thing was that this aunt had previously lent her family 20,000 yuan. Zhao King went to ask for the account, but the other party refused in various ways. But a few days later, his aunt bought her son a car. This is a good time to practice your skills. Fen Lin parked the car in front of a restaurant, which was considered a mid-range restaurant with a fairly large appearance. As soon as the two got out of the car, a young man who was smoking at the door of the store approached them with a smile. He was wearing a casual suit, was of medium build, and had all of his hair shaved on both sides, leaving only a handful on the top of his head. King. You were here when the young man saw Zhao King. He immediately threw the cigarette butt on the ground and walked over with a smile. Fen Lin, let me introduce you. This is my aunt's son, Sun Jianying. Zhao King introduced Fen Lin, and then looked at Sun Jianying. Brother, this is Fen Lin. Haha. He's your man, is that you? Friends. Sun Jianying smiled and nodded, stretching out his hand to invite. Come in quickly, we are waiting for you. Fen Lin and Zhao King looked at each other and followed each other. Under the leadership of Sun Jianying, they came to a small private room, where 5 or 6 people were sitting. Mom, King is here. Sun Jianying walked in and smiled at a perm woman. Ha. King is here. Zhao, what are you doing standing? Go and ask the waiter to serve the food. Zhao Qian immediately stood up with a friendly smile on her face. Sun Jianying nodded, turned and left the private room. Zhao King looked at these people. Who you're at? Zhao Qian, I don't know the rest of the people. King, who was this man? Zhao Qian looked at Fen Lin. Hello, I am King's boyfriend. Fen Lin took the initiative to announce his family status. In this case, he was also qualified to intervene in Zhao King's family affairs. What? King, do you have a boyfriend? Zhao Qian couldn't help but look at the young man sitting next to her. This young man is wearing a suit, looks quite good, and wears gold-rimmed glasses. Since Zhao King came in, he had been looking at her with a smile. But when she heard that Zhao King had a boyfriend, her smile suddenly faded. I'm not young anymore. Is it normal to have a boyfriend? Zhao King said blankly. She couldn't even give the most basic fake smile to her aunt. That's right. Zhao Qian laughed, pointing to the stool next to her. Sit down quickly. Sit down. Fen Lin and Zhao King sat down. At this time, Sun Jianying from outside also walked in. The waiter is ready to serve the food. King, we brother and sister have not seen each other for several years. Today we have a good meal. Andy, you better talk about business. I won't hide it from you. Today's my boyfriend's birthday. I finally waited until I got off work, but I didn't expect you to call me suddenly. Zhao King had nothing to say to them. People and I went straight to the topic. King, my aunt came to see you this time for something important. While speaking, Zhao Qian took out 2 wads of bills from her bag, totaling 20,000 yuan. She placed them in front of Zhao King. This is my aunt. I never forgot the 20,000 yuan I owe you. Zhao King bit her lip hard when she saw the 20,000 yuan in front of her. If she hadn't asked herself for something, she may not have even planned to return it. However, the money originally belonged to her, and Zhao King was not polite and pocketed the money. Let's talk about the second. A few days ago, my aunt saw you on television. I didn't expect you to become the manager. Zhao Qian's smile was flattering. Yes, I saw too. It's still a very famous big company, Sun Jianying also said. Fen Lin remembered that some time ago, only Zhao King and Tang Hong were left in Zhu Ruang's company. In many interviews, Zhu Ruang, the boss, did not appear, leaving Tang Hong and Zhao King in front of the camera. It's just good luck. I just got promoted. What happened? Zhao King asked calmly. Haha, you also know that your brother is uneducated, but he doesn't want to be a security guard. You finally became a manager, so you can get your brother to work at the company. With it said, the waiter knocked on the door and delivered this. All meals are placed on the dining table. Zhao Kaiyang continued. And Li's requirements are not high. Just find a job for your brother to get by. Fen Lin raised his cheeks and shook his head slightly. It's quite a beautiful thought. Sun Yuanyin also smiled and said, King, I'm not married yet. Once I establish myself in a big company, I will have the confidence to go on blind dates in the future. And if this is the case, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Zhao King shook her head. I'm not from the Human Resources Department. Several people who were still smiling at the beginning stopped smiling when they heard this. King, you, the manager, don't even have this power. Zhao Kaiyang asked. No, as you said, large companies are complex, and each department has a clear division of labor. Zhao King shook his head. Fen Lin also joined in. Yes, if King asks the Human Resources Department for help, they will have King's influence and the consequences will be disastrous. King, don't you want to be busy right now? I'll pay you back. Zhao Kaiyang's face gradually became ugly. Have you paid me back? Shouldn't I pay back the money I've borrowed from our family? When Zhao King heard what he said, the suppressed anger in her heart finally burst out. I borrowed it 6 years ago. Don't say that the money has always been there. If the value depreciates, I can get thousands of yuan more even if I deposit it in the bank. Don't get excited. Fen Lin gently patted Zhao King's shoulder. Zhao King took a deep breath and nodded slightly. Andy, don't say I can't help you. Even if I can, I won't help you. I knelt in front of your house before, begging you to pay. Return the money and treat my father. I still remember the illness clearly. Zhao King's words surprised both Zhao Kaiyang and Sun Jianying. They couldn't believe that Zhao King, who had always been a coward, would actually explode. Fen Lin, let's go. Zhao King stood up and took Fen Lin's arm. Stop. King, I want you to come this time, there is one more thing. Zhao Kaiyang introduced the young man with glasses next to him with a calm expression. This is the blind date I found for you. I do it. For your own good. They are from Yan City. Upper-class society. Zhao King turned around. No wonder she didn't know these people, they turned out to be the blind date in her family. No need, my boyfriend and I love each other very much, she said Zhao King calmly. King, your boyfriend drives a trashy Wollongwang. He's not as good as my car, how can he succeed? Sun Yuanying sneered from the side. Even if he has no future, you don't need to worry about him. Zhao King pushed Fen Lin away. After the two of them were, Zhao Kaiyang hurriedly apologized. Mr. Wang, I'm sorry for making you laugh. It's okay. The middle-aged man sitting next to him smiled and shook his head. He looked at the man with glasses next to him and asked with a smile. Master Zhang, how do you very good, this woman is good. The man with glasses smiled and pushed up his glasses. Zhao Kaiyang and Sun Yuanying next to them were surprised. Isn't this man with glasses Mr. Wang's son? Chapter 199 I like you. Zhao Kaiyang had a flattering smile on her face. He looked at the middle-aged man next to him and asked, Mr. Wang, isn't this your son? Don't ask about things you shouldn't know. Just do things for us. The benefits are essential. You. Mr. Wang took out 20,000 yuan from the side briefcase, put it on the table, got up and left. Zhao Kaiyang looked at the 20,000 yuan on the table with a smile on his face. Mr. Wang, I'll see you off. No, stay for dinner. This time I will pay for the meal. Wang after that, he left with a few people around him. Only Zhao Kaiyang and Sun Yuanying are left here. Mom, it doesn't look like they are on a blind date. Sun Yuanying picked up the chopsticks and ate. Without any picture. This was the first time I came to this kind of restaurant. Anyway, as long as we make money, it's fine. This girl, Zhao King, has strong wings. Your father didn't dare to talk to me like that back then. Zhao Kaiyang snorted and picked up the chopsticks. Outside, in the BMW car, all the people had just gotten in. The car followed the street to a luxury hotel. In the end, you guys go back. Zhang Huiming got out of the car and said to the people inside. He pushed up his glasses and walked into the hotel. The top floor of the hotel, Zhang Huiming, was the most luxurious. He opened the beautiful door and walked in. It is built like a palace. In addition to sleeping areas, there are also swimming pools, pool tables, bathing areas and everything necessary. In the distance, a tall man was playing pool with a girl. Young Master Wei, I'm back. Zhang Huiming walked over with a smile. Master Zhang, how are you? Is it prettier in person than in the photos? The man in the distance is none other than Wei Kangyong. In fact, there is one thing that bothers me. She has a boyfriend. I don't like things that others have used. Zhang Yueming sat on the sofa next to him and crossed his legs. That man can't be Fen Lin, right? Wei Kengyang threw the pool cue on the table. He approached and asked, huh? I remember that it was indeed Fen Lin. Zhang Yueming looked surprised, remembering that Zhao King called the man. He is not Zhao King's boyfriend, it must be fake. Wei Kengyang sat across from Zhang Yueming. According to his investigation, Fen Lin should be Yi Xinyang's pretty boy. As for Zhu Ruang, she is Yi Xin's person. This may also explain why Fen Lin, when he was a pretty boy, was still so close to Zhu Ruang. The Wei family's brain left. So they didn't even dare to think about Zhu Ruang's recipe. No one wants to provoke Yi Xin, who is the realm of a master. But Zhang Yueming of Jiaognan approached him specifically and told him that he wanted to get the recipe from Zhu Ruang Company. Of course, Wei Kengyang agrees. If someone is willing to be the forward, he will cooperate 100%. Young Master Wei, are you sure Zhao King is a main member? He's too young. Zhang Yueming leaned on the sofa and greeted a few girls sitting in the distance. In the distance, several women with heavy makeup were sitting next to Zhang Yueming with a smile. I'm sure that when Zhu's company Ruang was in trouble, there were only 2 employees left except Zhao King, and that was Tang Huang. Tang Huang is not young anymore. In comparison, Zhao King, a rookie in the workplace, is easier to control. Wei Kengyang picked up the red wine next to him and took a sip with a smile. Then I can rest assured. I have the experience to deal with this kind of girls. Zhang Yueming lifted the chin of the woman next to him and said with a smile, one word, money. Fen Lin sent Zhao King to his apartment. Okay, go back and rest. If you have any problems, you can come to me. Fen Lin turned off the car and looked at Zhao King. Fen Lin, here, 20,000 yuan is for you. You have helped me a lot, but I have never given you substantial thanks. Zhao King put the 2 yuan in her pocket on Fen Lin's lap and opened the car door. However, Fen Lin grabbed her destiny by the back of her neck and he pushed down on the seat. If you're as rich as Zhu Ruang, I will definitely accept it. How can you, a poor man, imitate a rich man? Fen Lin put the money back into Zhao King's hand. It's no use asking for money. Zhao King's voice was as calm as a mosquito, and now she was alone. What do you need so much money for? What's more, Zhu Ruang has already given her 10,000 yuan as her current salary. If you save up to buy a house, at least you will have a place to live. Life in the future. Fen Lin looked at Zhao King's face and said with a smile, otherwise, you can take this money and use it to support me. Sponsored. Zhao King blushed. There's nowhere to put your little hands. Yes, as long as we are together from now on, you'll pay all expenses. Fen Lin looked at Zhao King. Oh, it's fine. Zhao King put the money back into her pocket. She glanced at Fen Lin secretly and immediately turned her head in embarrassment. Fen Lin, you're very kind to me. After saying that, he walked down. Car, close the door. I like you. The voice was low. Plus, the car windows are closed, so most people in the car can't hear her talking outside. However, Fen Lin's hearing was far beyond that of ordinary people and he could hear clearly. Hey. Fen Lin sighed deeply. In his previous life, he might have been an old bachelor and died alone. So in this life, the peach blossoms are blooming. Return to the villa. Zhu Ruang is back. Fen Lin shouted from the top of the house. Lao Qi, come down. Oh. Yan Yuebai jumped down from the villa. When Zhu Ruang heard Fen Lin's voice, she immediately ran out and found Yan Yuebai by her side. I asked Yan Yuebai to protect you recently. You may be in danger, Fen Lin said to Zhu Ruang. Zhu Ruang had seen this woman at Yi Xin's club. Fen Lin should have invited her from Yi Xin. Okay, coming quickly, dinner will be ready soon. Zhu Ruang smiled and nodded. Fen Lin must be afraid that the Wang family would be detrimental to her, so she specially invited experts. Several people came to the living room together. Zhu Ruang went to the kitchen first. There had been more and more competitors recently, so you must dominate the big quotes. Yan Yuebai stretched and leaned on the sofa. If I am busy for a few more days, I will find a group of experts and let my 7th son serve as a bodyguard. He is too unskilled. Fen Lin put his arm around Yan Yuebai's shoulders and smiled. Boss, let 5th sister come. 5th sister's subordinates are all masters. Yan Yuebai grabbed Fen Lin's arm and said, I have been chatting with 5th sister these days and she complained to me. The boss called everyone here. I just didn't call her. Fen Lin said helplessly and called out to her. Zhu Ruang's life will not be easy in the future. She has her own affairs. Fen Lin sighed lightly. TCH, 5th sister finished her own affairs a long time ago. Yan Yuebai pursed her lips slightly. You just don't like her and you don't like her for being mixed race and not pure Chinese. Stop talking nonsense. Fen Lin turned the page and my own contacts finally noticed the contact whose comment is 5. I'll listen to you and call Lao Yu, Fen Lin said helplessly. That's it. Yan Yabai's eyes turned into crescent moons. Fen Lin picked up his mobile phone, made a call and walked out. Boss, what's wrong? A female voice came from the other side. The voice was very soft, but the background sound was inversely proportional. There was a lot of shouting everywhere. Chapter 200 Jinguji Akahui. Fen Lin heard the other side's shouts and asked with a smile, Lao Yu, are you busy? Be quiet. Lao Yu's low roar came from the phone, but this sentence is the Mandarin of the island. For a moment, all the voices there were silent. Boss, I'm not busy. Bah? Fen Lin was a little embarrassed and asked with a smile. I'm short of manpower recently, so I thought you'd have a lot of subordinates. Do you have time? Yes. Boss, I was just waiting for your words. When I heard you and came to the family to take care of the mess, I really had enough. Lao Yu's voice was full of joy. That's good. I am now in Yun City in Jiabai. When you come, remember to call me, Fen Lin said on the other side. Yes. I'll prepare right away. Lao Yu smiled. After hanging up the phone, Fen Lin explained to Yishin again. Just buy a house in this villa area. Used as headquarters for those people. Fen Lin, come eat. Zhuruan came out and called. Fen Lin turned around with a smile. The three of them sat here and ate well. Fen Lin looked at Zhuruan in surprise. He had recently learned more and more food styles. It's also getting tastier and tastier. After eating and drinking, Zhuruan prepared a room for Yan Yubai. Fen Lin was lying on the sofa and could still feel the power emanating from his body. As expected from the fire lotus seeds, a few days have passed and the huge medicinal effect has not yet dissipated. If we continue like this, we can really make a breakthrough. Early the next morning, Zhuruan and Yan Yubai went to the company. Fen Lin drove to find Yishin. Yishin saw Fen Lin coming and said with a smile, I bought the villa across the street from Miss Zhu. On the other side of the door. I remember someone lived in that house, right? Fen Lin remembered that at night, that villa there are lights. I gave you too much, Yishin smiled. Fen Lin also laughed. Anyway, money is something you can only win when you lose it. Zhuruan's company has become somewhat famous, so at most it will take time for him to prepare a batch of kidney toning medicine. I think it will be more sensational. I'll leave the matter to you. The sooner the better. After Fen Lin finished speaking, he saw Man Chingshan there and walked over with a smile. Pushing his wheelchair, the two approached the window. Second Master, are you still used to living here? Fen Lin asked. Absolutely. When I was in the countryside, the only way to pass the time was fishing, and I was able to find a chess friend here. Men Chingshan smiled and took out his pipe. Fen Lin said in a deep voice, Liunan called me yesterday and told me that he was going to exchange the lives of Yishin and Zhuruan for 2 fire lotus seeds. When Men Chingshan heard this, the flame of the lighter continued to burn. This damn girl, Men Chingshan finally sighed. I called Lao here, Fen Lin smiled. It should have arrived a long time ago. Men Chingshan lit his pipe and took a few puffs with a smile. At 10:30 inches the morning, the location sharing appeared on Fen Lin's mobile phone. He took it out and looked at it. It was a message sent by Lao Yu. Fen Lin did not rush because the other party was approaching here. He arrived at the bar on the first floor of the club and sat waiting in silence. Fen Lin looked at his phone from time to time and within about 10 minutes, the two people's positions almost overlapped. He got up and left the club. Shortly after, 3 black Hondas stopped here. A woman got out of the back seat of the car in the middle. He has an oval face and long black hair spread freely, giving him a stylish and casual look. She was wearing jean shorts, exposing her straight and slender legs, a loose white blouse, and a guitar bag behind her. This person is the number 5 of the Dead Knight, Jinguji Akahui. Just like the 4th son, Fen Lin rescued her during his mission back then. Relatively speaking, his relationship with Fen Lin is also the closest. Oh. Fen Lin smiled and opened his arms. Boss. Jinguji Qiu smiled and hugged Fen Lin, I miss you very much. Haha, I heard Lao Qi say that you were angry with me and complained that I didn't let you come. Fen Lin left. Asked. No. How could I be angry with the boss? I know what the boss thinks, Jinguji Akahui replied with his head lowered. Aside from her, everyone else in Death Knight is all unrestricted Sanrin. Men Chingshan lives alone, no matter where he is. Sikam Jin is an orphan and stays at home all day. Yan Yubai also lives alone. She is different, she has inherited a huge family fortune. Fen Lin was afraid of disturbing her, so he never called her. At that moment, 10 people got out of the car, both men and women, like Jin Gujiak, all carrying bags of guitars. Boss, these are the 10 masters I brought. Not only are they powerful, but they are also proficient in the Chinese language, Jin Gujiak introduced. Fen Lin took a gentle look and nodded secretly. The weakest ones were in the transformation realm. The strongest were the 2 old men, who had reached the realm of resonance. Okay. Fen Lin nodded slightly. These people were pretty good. He invited a few people, come in. Under the leadership of Fen Lin, everyone reached the top. As soon as he got out of the elevator, Jinguji Akada noticed Men Changshen in the distance. She ran over excitedly and hugged Men Changshen, second master. Long time no see. Damn, I dare not recognize these big white legs. They haven't been seen for several years, and there are more and more of them. Most beautiful. Men Changshen smiled and nodded. Where? Jinguji Akada smiled and lowered his head. Fen Lin walked over with a few people around him. Yi Shen and Yi Dan in the distance are looking this way. How come these people and have a very powerful aura? Just by looking at them, they are not ordinary people. At this moment, Sikong Jin came out of the back room. Wow. Empress Sikong, you are still so beautiful. Jinguji Akadu smiled and ran over. How are you talking? Sikong Jin frowned slightly. Hey, where is the 7th sister? Jinguji Hui turned around and looked at Fen Lin. I'll call her later, Fen Lin said with a smile. He was also really happy to see Jinguji Akada is finally here. Fen Lin, my people have brought the key. You can move in now. Yi transformation, follow me yes. Before come in, Jinguji Hui had already explained. What Fen Lin meant was what she meant. What's more, they are all confidants of Jinguji Akada, so naturally. They knew the boss is talking about the legendary second day that Dr. Fen Lin led Wuling Huangwing and took the woman with him to Zhu Ruang's company. She is the strongest woman among those 10. It is more convenient for women to protect Zhu Ruang. Fen Lin parked his car outside the company, only to find a Porsche 911 parked here. He got out of the car with a woman next to him, and the owner of the sports car also got out of the car. Car with flowers in hand. This person is none other than the man with glasses we met at dinner yesterday, Zhang Huaning. Zhang Huaning also noticed Fen Lin and greeted him with a smile. End of this chapter. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This story is completely available on Patreon. I invite you to subscribe and enjoy all the content.